Hello, hello. I am Crow,
And I'm Mr. PR Miller.
and we are here today to bring you some Quest for Glory to finish up the Questing for Glory marathon. It seems appropriate to finish a Questing for Glory marathon by completing the Quest for Glory series, or at least all the VGA games of it, 100% completion, because that seems like a logical way to complete Questing for Glory, right?
Oh, it makes perfect sense to me. I mean, if it was a hallway game or something like that, if this was the hallway simulator, we'd be ending on Final Fantasy 13, from what I understand. But I'm excited. I'm excited to see the questing for glories here.
All right. So, the Quest for Glory series, for anyone not familiar with it, is a bunch of hybrid RPG slash adventure games made by Sierra. Um, it is a RPG to the extent that your ability to do things is gated by how good you are at various skills. Like a typical Western RPG, you can specify how you distribute your extra bonus points whenever you start as whatever class of character you choose to be. I will be completing the games today with a magic user that starts in Quest for Glory 1. Then we're done. When we're done with this game, we will port into Quest for Glory 2, and then 3, and then 4 with the same character file. So each character could have all sorts of different skills. I am choosing to throw all my points into magic so that I have as many magic points as possible, so I can practice my spells as much as possible, so that I can cast the fetch spell with as much of a likelihood of succeeding at the end, well, kind of 2/3 through the game, I guess, in order to catch a seed from the Spitting Seed Spiraea. We'll see that there later. Anyway, I think I'll be starting about 5 seconds or something like that. I'll count myself down to make it easier for high spirits to hit the timer. So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
Yay!
So you'll see there's a score in the upper right-hand side of the screen. We will define 100% as getting all 500 out of 500 points that are possible. I set the game speed to maximum. I will start walking over here and then start running. These games actually run faster depending on how fast your computer is. So we have a standard that we run in DOSBox, which is a particular DOS emulator. And that DOSBox is set to a particular computer speed, 10,000 cycles, if that means anything to you. And that way we can keep things nice and consistent.
Yeah, when these games were released on goodoldgames.com and then eventually they just came out on Steam, 10,000 cycles was pretty much what the standard was, and we just kind of rolled with it from there. That is the actual retail setting for it now, so it just kind of makes sense to keep going with that. That way everything is a little consistent across the board, because computer speed makes a huge difference in this game.
Right. So you'll see me do a variety of things that don't seem to accomplish anything, like talking to people and then immediately saying, "Enough already!" and then just running off. It's because just having talked to people is frequently worth some amount of points. Generally, the people that give you important information give you lots of points, and I'll try to point out some of those people later. We're now dealing with the meeps after having picked up a bunch of mushrooms from a mushroom circle. We'll be back there later. The meeps are friendly little furballs that are total bros and will just, whenever you ask about their green fur, they'll just say, "Oh, hey, you want some?" and rip some out of themselves and just hand it to you.
That's one of the things I like about doing the any percent run, is that the meeps, I think, are the only people that I actually have to talk to. Everybody else you just pretty much ignore.
Right. So all of the games in this series have their own little quirks to the UI. In this game, I can hit tab to instantly go to the um, inventory menu. However, that doesn't work in all the games. Also, I can hit insert in this game only. Insert will alternate between the movement command and whatever the last thing I stored on the insert key was. So I'll be doing that quietly at some places without really talking about it too much to speed up how long it takes me to get the cursors to what I need. And there I just dealt with the healer. A lot of things happened all at once, but I got a ring that the healer had lost. I turned it in. I also turned in the mushrooms that I picked up earlier. And, you know, anything
and in return,
about...
you got a little love.
Hmm?
And in return, you got a little love.
Yes. And more importantly, 6 gold coins, which is more generally useful to a speedrun, at least. Eventually getting married is a thing in the series, although we won't actually be getting up to that game.
Yeah, unfortunately, this is actually the only game where money is actually an object or something that you really need to worry about. The rest of them don't really have that problem.
Right. This game starts you off with 5 gold, which is worth 50 silver, is the conversion ratios. And you generally, if you want money, you go to the healer and give the healer things that she wants, and that's just how it goes. Oops, wrong icon. There we go. So I'm about to deal with the Cobalt Wizard, so I'm going to do a safety save, because if I make a mistake here, then we're in big trouble. So that bear that I just walked past is actually the prince who has been enchanted by this kobold. I need to defeat the kobold to get the key that he has. There are actually several ways you can get the key, and this is generally how the Quest for Glory series works. There's various solutions to puzzles. Depending on which class you are, there's a different solution that you're expected to do. And in this case, I'm just using Flame Dart to kill the Cobalt Wizard, which is actually not supposed to work, because the Cobalt Wizard will eventually cast Reversal, and then that bounces off the any direct spells, such as Flame Dart, so that they don't hurt him anymore. But by casting with the correct timings, I can prevent the Cobalt Wizard from ever getting to cast Reversal.
And the neat thing about that Cobalt Wizard is that there's so many different ways to handle him. I mean, yeah, you can Flame Dart him really quick. You can also just steal it, sneak right past him. Even better, I like throwing rocks at him. If you throw about 70 rocks at him, he disappears.
I imagine the rocks probably take a while. I assume, although I don't explicitly know, that rocks take deal less damage than daggers when thrown. I'm guessing that's the case. You can buy daggers from the general store, which I'll be entering later, but I won't actually do anything there.
Yeah, I have no idea if that's the case. I mean, daggers are expensive, rocks are cheap and everywhere.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm now in the inn. It is sunset. I can tell that it is sunset because Abdullah-Du is here. Abdullah-Du is from the land of Shapir, as are the Kata that are the owners of this inn here. And the merchant guy, Abdullah-Du, had his stuff stolen by the brigands that are plaguing this land. I will befriend him by giving him food. I also, at the same time, ate food myself, so that whenever I ordered a meal, or attempted to, the game credited me for ordering a meal, but did not actually give me the meal because I didn't need to eat. So I got the points without having to do anything else. On the previous...
And just save about 30 seconds to do it, too, because that meal, that takes a long time.
You get to hear the inn's theme music like 4 times as you order it, though. Anyhow, because I rescued the prince yesterday, I can just go into the castle and collect my reward today. The problem that faces a speedrunner for this game is generally managing the in-game time. In-game time progresses kind of erratically. You can speed it up by using the rest command, and then obviously sleeping works pretty well too. Whenever you go into this scene here and you collect your reward and get lots of money for having saved the prince, it advances it to the next day. So I want to make use of that as much as possible, and I do that by just skipping the entirety of day 2, because I need to sleep in the inn, I need to sleep in Arana's Peace, and I need to sleep effectively in the Baron's castle in order to get all the points that are available. So that's a lot of game time that has to be spent.
Yeah, the magic user in particular has to have that extra sleep, which doesn't sound like a big deal, but it's actually really hard to manage. It's a little bit easier in the original EGA version of the game because, like most people that want to waste time, you can just go to the bar and begin drinking, and they throw you out eventually, and that wastes about 6 hours of time in the game, but not in the VGA. No, we had to be family friendly there.
Right. We'll be going to the bar, it's just we won't be drinking. Arg didn't get the Weapon Master. A lot of the old Sierra adventure games of this era had a system in place where characters would randomly either be in or not be in a particular square of the map, just randomly whenever you entered the room, and the Weapon Master is one of the few cases where that's the case here. There is also, of course, the random encounters with like goblins and sauruses and whatnot. Hopefully we won't see too many of those. There we go. Undead Unguent. I need to wait a little bit of time after each purchase here in order to make sure that I actually get the stuff. If you try to buy things too quickly, the healer will just take your money and run. To north section of town.
Yeah, there's a timing glitch there for some reason where if you just try to spam buying things, you don't get the items, and for some reason she does get the money.
Or should be 5 apples. My mouse wound up on the right side of the mouse pad during that, which is a little awkward. Whenever I press tab, I instantly zip my cursor to the wherever the first option of the buying menu is, so that winds up just zipping it constantly to the left, and then I have to return it back to where it was, so that keeps on moving my mouse to the right. Anyway.
Alright, you got your note here.
Yeah, the note there is to inform us that there's a meeting between these brigands, which we're about to see. You have to see this meeting at midday. We overhear a password, hide and go seek, which in the original release of the game, as long as you knew the password, you could just type it in and say it. The original release of this game was actually a 16-color type in your command deal. This is the officially made remake. For the next game in the series, I'll actually be playing the unofficial remake that was made 2008, I think you said it was? Ah, crap.
Correct, 2008.
A little late on moving off to the side. If you're still in the way of that door, whenever it opens, you get hit down and you have to go back up again.
Yeah, the first game came out in the EGA in 1989, and then as it was still in that 16-color range, they were still working around with the text parser, and then they came out with the second game about a year later, and then went back to redo the first game because the 256 VGA was starting to become a little bit more reasonable to produce for.
Can't do that yet.
And it's just pretty. I mean, I thought they did an amazing job with just 16 colors on each screen.
I'm not so sure about the pink adventuring suit they chose to have you guys have, but whatever.
It made me feel heroic. I know it did.
Alright, so this is a fox that I rescue. Not really too much that he does that's useful, but it's worth points to rescue him. He also gives you hints as to how to deal with Baba Yaga, but they're kind of obtuse hints. More helpful for dealing with Baba Yaga is the ice giant I just gave 50 apples to because they're having a famine back in their homelands. There was a random encounter with a goblin just now. Those will happen from time to time. I just run away. In this version of the game, it's actually really easy to run away. Some other versions, not so much.
Yeah, they get a little funny with this one. This one, that's nice. You can just run right past them. In the original EGA, getting into a fight was pretty much a restart right off the bat.
Depending on which direction you need to go after getting into the encounter.
Valid, and all you had to do was run into a bush or something or get caught on it, and the game was very unforgiving. Although the any percent for this one is currently at about, I think, like 3 minutes and 20 seconds with all the glitches involved. The EGA has a soft spot in my heart. It's only at about a minute 40, I believe. So these games go very fast on the any percent. So seeing 100% is something I don't do very often.
Okay, rest another 60 minutes. After I climb the mountain, I'm allowed to rest again. Usually you have to wait a long time between rests, and that is what makes advancing time difficult in this version. Well, in this game. I'm going to drop a safety save here because occasionally you can get a crash. I'm visiting the wizard Erasmus, who's a bit of a jokester. We just had a, what is your name, what is your quest? Potentially, what is your favorite color, just depending on RNG questions from the gatekeeper. So, just generally, this guy's a jokester. This is the Mage's Maze. The interface for this is a little awkward, but the general idea is I'm controlling the blue thing on the left, and I'm clearing the path and modifying it as need be in order to get it to advance as quickly as possible out to the exit. For completing this, I get Erasmus's Razzle Dazzle, which is a spell which is useful in combat, although I'm not actually going to be using it even in the combat that I do. So I survived that. I will drop another safety save because occasionally the next time I rest will make it nighttime already. Usually that doesn't happen, but if I make it nighttime too early, that's not good. Because I need to get the seed from the Spitting Seed Spiraea.
Yeah, there's a neat... Time management really is your worst enemy in this game, too. These seeds, they only spit during the day, and there's some cases where you can get yourself locked if you start casting this spell that Crow's casting here. Just as it's turning night, they stop spitting, and you wait all night until, which is, what, something like 20 minutes long. I mean, obviously that's a restart.
Speaking of, I think it just happened.
Oh, that would be great. Oh, that would be so wonderful.
Restore from the safety save, and let's go. That's why I dropped the safety save.
Oh, I hope this goes... I hope... Wow, do you have a backup strat for that one? I mean...
Well, the backup would be to deal with the seed on the final day, which would be super lame.
Yeah, that would be annoying, because that puts off the Dispel Potion and everything else on the way. Boy, I hope that does.
Please spit.
Please, please.
Got it, okay.
The
marathon doesn't need to be canceled. Okay.
Everybody breathe a sigh of relief right now.
Although this probably does mean I'm not getting the Dryad today. Yeah, I'm definitely not getting the Dryad. I can get it the next day, that's fine. Just
yeah, the ghosts are already appearing there. However, it is nice. You won't have to necessarily worry about dealing with Baba Yaga tonight either.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Because the progression of time in this game is so weirdly inconsistent, in order to get time to progress as much as I need it to, I sometimes will deal with some parts of the game that I normally don't on day 3, that kind of thing. And this is a troll, by the way. I need to defeat a troll so that I can get its beard. I also need to defeat a cheetar, which is a centaur except puma. You'd think it'd be a centaur except it's a cheetah, but no. Anyway, this troll is like the second strongest thing in the game. And it will kill me, depending on RNG, in 2 attacks. Oh crap, I usually rest before this, so if this doesn't kill him, I could actually be in a little bit of trouble. Alright,
I have faith in you here, Crow. I mean, you know, you're a Twitch streamer. I'm sure you defeat trolls all day long.
Yeah, the trolls, fittingly enough, are actually pretty common sources of trolling in this game, if you're going for 100%, because I need points for turning in the troll's beard to the healer, so I need to fight a troll, but the odds aren't that great that you encounter a troll. I go to that section of the map, which is considered the least friendly area in the whole game. It's halfway between the brigand's front door and back door. So the enemies there at night are either a troll or a brigand every time, which is supposed to be a really hard enemy set. And I'd say it generally is. I just danced, supposedly. I just spazzed in place because my agility is so low that I can't do a proper dance, which is actually a good thing. If you do a proper dance, it takes like 35 seconds or something, and it's such a huge time loss if it happens.
Yeah, there was a while there we didn't understand what was causing that fast dance to happen, and it turns out it's based on agility entirely. I think it's 25 agility, where suddenly you
15?
immediately become...
I want to say it's 15 because it sometimes happens to the magic user, and the magic user starts at 10.
That would make sense then. That would make sense. Either way, I mean, it's a difference of about 30 seconds, so...
Ugh.
Right now, he's hunting for a cheetar to get the other... This is... I want to say this and the third one are the most RNG heavy of the entire series, by far.
Yeah, so I need to get a cheetar. Whenever I get an encounter I don't want, I dip into one of the interesting rooms on the sides of these locations. I picked this location to do the cheetar grind because this way, if I get an encounter I don't want...
Perfect.
I can just duck into one of those rooms and everything is fine. I only got one shot out. Yeah, I don't actually like fighting in this room as much as I like fighting in the room above. It's hard to get 2 shots off safely, so I pretty much only get 1 shot per runaway. I don't at all have the stats to fight these guys legitimately, so I'm just cheesing them by getting into the close combat and then running away and then casting a spell and then going back into combat. If you try to cast...
I think cheesing is... Oh, go ahead.
If you try to cast a spell in close range combat, and then you get interrupted because you take damage, then the game locks you out of being able to do anything, including being able to run away, which is really quite terrifying. So you can fix it by casting another spell, but not if you don't have the MP to do so. So there are ways that you can get yourself stuck and you're going to die. So I just grabbed the Mandrake root. You have to pick that up at midnight. Messed up the cursor. There's another cheetar, not that I need it.
This would be a good...
There's another
cheetar. Once you hit
cheetar.
Uranus to do a safety save.
I suppose this would be a sensible time to make a safety save.
Now there's cheetars everywhere.
Yep. Run away! So here's Arana's piece. If you're playing this game casually, you should... Oh, I actually don't have the MP to cast Open. Interesting. Open costs 2 MP.
That's great. That's great.
So if you're playing this game casually and you're caught outside of town, find this location. This is one of the few places you can sleep safely. Plus, whenever you sleep here, you get a full restore of everything. MP, HP, all that stuff. Generally, when you sleep, it's not a full restore all the time. So I do need to visit the Dryad now because night came earlier than usual yesterday. So...
And I can't see a timer, but this looks like a pretty solid run so far, so knock on wood. I know, it's probably like just broke every
Pallet
single
explosion
running trope there. There we go. Something interesting.
So I like it best whenever this happens during the victory screen, because the victory screen is already what face inducing to begin with. But if both these things happen at the same time, then it's pretty hilarious. Anyway, I meet with the Dryad here. She wants the Spitting Seed Spiraea seed. That's why I was getting it before. And then she sends us on our main quest. As you generally talk to people, you eventually are supposed to figure out that that the princess of the land, Elsa von Spielberg, has been enchanted and is currently the leader of the brigands that are plaguing the region. So we need a dispel potion to remove that enchantment. So that's what we've been collecting as we've been going along here. So the order in which I give these things kind of matters, because I need to wait a certain period of time after I've turned in the last dispel components before I'm allowed to exit the hut. So I use that time to turn in the Cheetar Claw and the Troll's Beard. I turn in the Troll's Beard last because once I turn that in, my items cursor is now blank, so it's faster to cycle through my commands and whatnot. If I turned in a Cheetar Claw, I only need to turn in one, so I'm left with the rest of them in my hand. But here's the Antwerp. As soon as I make it move, it starts bouncing super fast, so sorry everyone who has the earbuds on and whatnot. Also, I need to spam click here to grind up my strength. This game increases your skills with spells, with magic, with your strength, all that stuff, just as you try to use those skills. And I increase my strength by repetitively attempting to open that door, which happens not to have any animation tied to it, so I can just spam it really fast and everything's fine.
Oh, I was hoping you were going to do the skip here.
I don't actually know it, honestly.
There's a way we just found, actually I say just found, it's been about a year now, where you can just attempt, even without any climbing ability, to climb the fence, and you just end up in this room. It makes no sense, but we love it.
Yeah. It's not that much slower to use Calm if you've already obtained Calm. It's a huge benefit compared to buying Open, so you can cast Calm and Open both. Yeah. If you're doing any percent. 100% you need to get all those things as a magic user anyway, so it's not as big a deal.
Yeah, correct. Open's pretty much the win spell in this game. I mean, it does pretty much everything that you needed to do to advance the plot. It's overpowered, and that's just not just in this game. That's in every game. This overpowered spell. Yeah.
So I just dealt with Larry, Curly, and Mo in the Brigands' stupid room of stupidness. I really don't like that room.
Millennials, they are.
The room with the tables and whatnot.
Funny.
So this is Yorick's fun house. Messed up the cursor. Alright, and I'm through. I talked to Yorick and talked to him about Elsa to demonstrate that I understand that this here is not an enemy, but instead is something I need to dispel, so I've done that. And looking at my score at the top of the screen, I believe I am on track to do 100% completion here.
Yeah, it looks good to me too.
Alright, so I get out the secret entrance off the backside, and now it's time to deal with Baba Yaga. Baba Yaga is a traditional element of Eastern European mythology. She lives in her chicken hut, and in this game she's an ogress. She's responsible for all the curses that have befallen everyone. This skull here wants us to get a glowing gem for him, which thankfully was our reward for giving 50 apples to Broggy the ice giant before. So we have that. I also needed to get the Rhyme, Hut of Brown Now Sit Down, in order to make the hut sit.
You might want to throw a safety save down too, just in case the game decides to do something funny.
Nah.
I think you'll be okay.
I'll be fine.
Oh, you're living on the edge.
I'll live on the edge. And then you have full permission to laugh at me however hard you like whenever this blows up in my face.
I only know because that's usually the place where all of my Quest for Glory runs end, is at the last possible moment.
Yeah. I understand this This scene here is a bit more annoying to deal with in the EGA version, because you have to type in commands rather than just waiting for the yes/no prompt to show up. Yeah, here's the chicken hut. I need to enter 3 times. The issue here is that your first couple of visits are expected to be, you know, you not understanding what it is you're getting into. You get turned into a frog, she guesses you to get her a mandrake root. Turns out we already got the root. In order to get the root, you're pretty much expected to have been told by Baba Yaga that you need to pull it at midnight. Otherwise, you're likely to pull it at some other time, and then it just shrivels, and then you don't get it. So, since I already knew that, I can just go in anyway. And then the 3rd visit, I'm finally allowed to bounce the turn into a frog spell back into her. And then she'll be, as the game says, hopping mad.
Oh yeah, this game's puns are...
Punderful.
I don't know if legendary is the right word, if that's a strong enough word to describe the puns.
I prefer punderful.
I'm glad somebody does. That's good.
So once you see you furtively grasp the mirror, that is your indicator that you're ready to zap the spell back at her. Now she's a toad, sort of. There's some teal on her for some reason because we had a palette explosion, which I guess we never really properly explained. The palette explodes whenever the game suffers some sort of memory leak that becomes fatal eventually because it runs out or something. We don't know exactly, but the game becomes progressively less stable as you continue to play it. At some point, it's likely to either bring up a message that usually crashes, although we recently found that, like, as of earlier today while I was practicing, found that you can hit... No, actually it was yesterday. Anyway, you can hit escape in order to clear that particular quote-unquote crash, so I guess it's okay. But anyway, you either get that crash or you get a palette explosion. Once the palette explosion happens, usually the game does not crash after that point.
Yeah, I mean, you found it yesterday accidentally. You confirmed it today, and that was a huge find because these games are known.
What FaceTime?
Known for their, yeah, these are known for. Oh, that's great! What a beautiful face. Oh, that guy is happy. I'm glad.
Okay.
It's even better with the palette explosion.
So, we got 500 out of 500 points in Quest for Glory 1, So You Want to Be a Hero. We now fly off with Abdullah Du to the land of Shapir, which is a Arabian-themed world. Well, area, I guess, of the world. 1.sav. Alright, save file created, and... soon we'll be flipping to the AGD Interactive remake of Quest for Glory 2. So let's go ahead and run my little batch file to move the necessary file and then load the game, and then we're into the game. I'm sure chat will explode if this is not loading properly, but it should be going fine.
Yeah, this is, for most people, this is the favorite of the series. It was definitely the most polished. This AGDI remake, Adventure Games Developers Interactive, you can go on their website and download this version for free.
Yeah, so again, free is the price tag on this game, so definitely give it a shot. This game is quite well made. Silly Clowns can be on or off. I distinctly remember seeing people in chat requesting Silly Clowns on, so I'll go ahead and leave it on. Usually it doesn't actually become an issue, but while I wander the streets, there may or may not be Silly Clowns.
Oh, those silly clowns, they kill time. I mean, granted, whenever you're doing 100% run, that time is negligible. But you know, I'm that guy who opts to kill the animals at every GBQ. So,
so do I. So do I. Don't make no mistake there. But I think we can accept them, Silly Clowns. Also, I can just claim that I'm doing the risky strats, because there's always the possibility that the Silly Clowns won't show up, and if not, then me having turned off the Silly Clowns would have cost time that didn't actually matter. See? So, anyway, this is a, you know, all modern-esque game. It runs actually natively in Windows. Gasp! No DOSBox needed. So, purchase. I need to buy a whole bunch of stuff. I also need to talk to Harik. Go ahead and talk, because I need to focus for a bit.
Yeah. What Crow's going to be doing here is he's going to be just asking general questions around. The nice thing is that you carry over money from Quest for Glory 1 into Quest for Glory 2. And because you carry over that money, we have more than enough money to actually complete every purchase that we need for the game. And even if we didn't, you get so much money thrown at you as you continue the quest. For example, in the any percent run, you come in with about 3 gold and have to, with just 3 gold, we can complete the entire game. In fact, really, in the EGA, you only need about 50 cents, and we can beat the game now.
The EGA version can manufacture money by giving to the magic shop owner a beard you have not yet obtained. So, money's not really so much of an issue in that one.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the nice thing is you can sell something to somebody that doesn't exist yet. I mean, if that's not the definition of false hype or internet Bitcoinage, I have no idea what is.
And yes, chat, I did just reject a phone call. Sorry, everyone. Yeah,
I checked my phone about 6 times just to make sure.
All right, so this game operates on a bit of a calendar, which is different from most of the other games here. So there are, on the evening of day 3, we listen to Omar the Poet. And then on day 5, that's the first day that I can deal with the fire elemental. There's a series of 4 elementals which the poet Omar just prophesized for us. Please don't kill me, fire elemental, thank you. The reason I just made a safety save is because this guy will kill me.
Yeah, sometimes you only get 1 shot. It looks like he was able to take 1. Because he's importing through speedrunning, normally you're meant to spend a couple hours playing these games, but finishing it in 30 minutes means that you are vastly underleveled no matter what game you're going into. And that means you die easily, and you need to get clever with your solutions.
Yeah, I also had to take 10 points in strength as I entered into this game here, so that the massive quantities of coins that the Sultan bombards me with would not cause me to become over-encumbered because of the weight of my purse. Because that was actually a problem I was encountering, so I had to take extra points of strength to avoid that.
That's actually a benefit of this version also. The remake gives you points to spend whenever you import. The original, you come in with just what you have on your back pretty much. You don't get any extra points.
Got confused there. I entered the wrong half of the Fountain Plaza.
Yeah, this really, they went for this whole feel of a living, breathing city. And I think they pulled off a really good job. There's a lot of just movement going around, and that movement happens in the EGA version also. So they really tried to polish this one off about as good as they could.
So I just needed to, in order to be honorful, I had to steal the purse from that poet there by waiting for him to recite his entire poem. After he's recited the whole poem, he then drops his purse, and then I return it to him. Unless I see to it that he loses his purse, I cannot return it to him, and therefore cannot have the honor of having returned it. Because that makes sense.
Yeah, there's actually 50... What he's doing with this purse is there are 50 bonus points that happen in this game. So the max score is 550. 50 of those points come whenever you try to become a paladin in the game, which is a bonus stretch incentive.
Keep talking.
Okay, and the neat thing about the Paladin in this game is that you get all sorts of benefits for him in the other games in the series later on. A lot of those benefits are not very beneficial, although you will see Crow do a glitch that makes this extremely beneficial later on. In fact, I think this is probably the only way that he can manage to get the points that he needs in the next game, because there was programming errors in the 3rd game. Not that there were Not that every single one of these games are polished to begin with, but they definitely came and launched with their own set of unique features, is a good way to put it.
For example, just a little bit ago, this game here got a brand new TAS, if you want to look it up. It involves seeing but not defeating 2 of the 4 elementals that attack the city. The way the elementals are supposed to work is that if you fail to deal with one before the last day that you're permitted to defeat it, then the game just destroys the city and you lose. But the TAS manages to circumvent that altogether by using the magic map to advance time and skip the event that's supposed to destroy the city.
Yeah, so just, we actually don't bother really saving the town of Spielberg in the first game, and now, because of tool-assisted running, we don't save the second city in the game either. The hero is quite unheroic in the any % anymore. He doesn't do much.
So yeah, I just threw fake Earth into the air elemental. I don't know what that is. I feel like Earth is already dirt cheap to begin with, so I'm not exactly sure why that's even necessary or a thing, but that's how it worked. So this is day 12. Day 12 is the day where I'm going to do all of the things that I could have done on any particular day, just because this also happens to be the first day that I can fight the Earth Elemental. So I needed to wander the streets anyway. May as well deal with the Wizards Institute of Technosry and a whole bunch of other things at this time as well.
Wow, you are really getting trolled by this Earth Elemental, too.
Yeah, I want to encounter the Earth Elemental 3 or 4 times, depending on how damage rolls go.
The Earth Elemental is one of the few things in this game that is actually class-specific for its solution. The magic user is expected to shoot it with fire. The fighter gets a special sword that allows him to do it, and the thief is expected, at least in the new version of the remake, to kamikaze and blow himself up in order to save the city.
So,
or you could throw it. I find the whole blow-up thing to be better.
Alright, so I'm going to use a couple of these. So, because I'm importing my character, I don't have as much magic as I would if I was playing a brand new character. So I actually need to do the Wizards Institute of Technosry in 2 separate goes, because I don't have enough MP to deal with it otherwise. And they don't let you use a mana pill in the middle of the test. So, yeah, that's a slight inconvenience based on that. So there's a test for each of the 4 elementals so that I can become a wizard. Some of these tests have multiple solutions, most of them don't. And I need to have all the spells I bought from Keep On Laughing in order to do a bunch of this stuff. I can also skip a lot of the animations in between the... well, just in between a lot of the transitions in this.
Yeah, walking animations are useless frames as far as anybody's concerned, so we skip as many of them as possible.
You have to hit the top of the door to make it fall over the hole. I reject academia and move on.
Reject academia.
Apparently I don't feel like resting now.
Well, that's okay.
Out of MP! Run away!
Of course, now he decides to show up.
This is actually a fine time for him to show up. Alright, so I rejected academia. I now need to finish killing the Earth Elemental, if I remember how menus work.
Yeah, it's because he's coming in under-leveled here. Normally, your Flame Dart would do a lot more power, a lot more damage to him. But because we ran through and didn't use Flame Dart nearly as much as I guess it was expected, or maybe we don't have as much magic as expected, it takes several more times for us to be able to take him down as a magic user.
He also regenerates over time, so the fact that I had to do the Wizard's Institute of Technocery in the meantime also let him refill a little bit. And now that we've defeated 3 of the 4 elementals of the city, now is the time that we will meet the person who's supposed to be the one who told us in the first place how to deal with the elementals. Aziza is an enchantress. She's a friendly enchantress, not to be confused with Adavis, who we'll be dealing with later. Crow, keep on Laughin' is the name of the shop owner, and he's the one who sent me. Yes, we will share tea. I found this scene to be the single most frustrating part of the game in the original. Because she requires you to accept her invitation to have tea with her. And the way the game expects you to do that is to type YES, nothing else. Everything else in the games requires you to do things like say yes or something like that. But no, it requires explicitly YES, nothing else, nothing more. Or else she gets really angry and throws you out for attempting to accept her invitation. So I remember getting really angry at that.
A lot of the other people in the game just accept Y as an answer. I think she even rejects that. I think you really need to actually be explicitly polite with her, or she gets angry and kicks you out, and then you lose all sorts of points along with it.
Most importantly, honor.
Yep.
So here's a cage. Remember, a slight difference between this version of the game and the original is that this game checks for a lot more logic in the remake. So I cannot ask for the Dispel Potion from Harik until I have actually seen the beast that needs to be dispelled in this version. I cannot take the the beard of the whirl of the beard of the dervish here at the oasis unless if I have asked Keep On Laughin' about it and he's told me, oh hey, I want this thing.
Yeah, this game does not allow you to metagame nearly as much as the EGA version does, or any of the EGA versions do. They really do want you to go on, and it makes logical sense. You go through, you don't know about needing to sell a beard until you talk to somebody about needing to sell a beard. I still question why he wants a beard, but who am I to judge?
He's a gnome, who knows?
Yeah, that's valid.
We just got a silly clown, by the way. There was a jet that passed overhead. That would not have happened if silly clowns were off. So, telling about myself is actually a communications skill check. So, if I did not have to put the points into strength to avoid getting over encumbered, then I would have been able to put more points into intelligence, which would have increased my communication skill as I imported into this game, which wrong store.
Yeah, communication was a new skill set for this game, and the way they calculated it whenever you imported your game was 3/4 of your magic skill and then 1/4 of your luck skill. And there's very few places, I mean, other than bartering, where communication skill is actually used. There's very few checks in the game.
I arrange things such that I always go through the desert to the left. The desert flips your view direction by 180 degrees once you reach a certain north-south part of the desert. So I make use of that in order to always be going left, because whenever you flee from an enemy, you always flee to the left. And this, by the way, is my absolute least favorite part of the game.
Oh, so close on that one. Yeah, the speed is turned up so high on this that this guy likes to snap at you, and you have to pull. Oh, that was actually pretty good. That was actually pretty fast compared to sometimes how long that can take.
Yeah, so you need to walk around to the backside to take a hair from that beast, so that you can put it in the Dispel Potion as the final component of the Dispel Potion. So now we have finally done everything on day 12. Just a little bit of cleanup, and then we'll be done with Shapir. So day 14, I'll deal with the
easiest of the elementals.
Despite the fact that the town is the most terrified of this one. Turns out all they really had to do was just put a water skin anywhere nearby and then blow really hard, and then that would have pretty much fixed the problem, but whatever.
Yeah, as long as you have everything, it's like impossible to die to that elemental. I mean, it's never happened to me. I know that you can. It sucks all the liquid out of you, but it's not easy to do. You pretty much have to try to die there.
Alright, so I need to tell about my past. This is the Astrologer. All of the Quest for Glory games have some form of prophecy going on. This game uses astrology, which also happens to be the basis of the prophecy that the bad guy is using to try to summon Iblis to destroy the world. The bad guy is Adavis. We learned just a tiny bit about him from the beast we just rescued. That beast was the enchanted form of the... Whoops, not Daily News. It was the enchanted form of the former, like, apprentice or something of Adavis, who is very much so not Jafar. Definitely not Jafar. Incidentally, this game actually predates Disney's form of Aladdin, so it definitely isn't Jafar, but they're both based on Arabian Nights tales, so you'll see some distinct similarities.
Apparently, the early 90s, the Arabian Nights were all the rage. Who knew? Who knew Disney would jump on that bandwagon after the Coles managed to?
Right.
Sierra did it first.
The Coles, of course, are Lorianne Cole and Corey Cole, the main creators and designers of these games. And they themselves exist as cameos in this game as... like Shlory and Shlory Cole or something like that. A couple of the katas that sell food that I actually bought from earlier. So we switched sources because Aziza revealed on day 16 that, whenever we met with her, that the source we've been riding is actually the Emir of Razir. We've been in Shapir, which is the happy, enchanted happy land of happiness and just a few elementals attacking it. We're now going to grim, dark, evil world of military dictatorships, Razir, which only became such a thing once the previous Emir vanished. It turns out he got turned into a Saurus. And for some reason, we're not immediately giving him the Dispel Potion. I'm not sure why not, but we'll do it eventually. And so we're going to Razir to try to fix the whole problem that the city is being ruled by Kaveen, effectively. There's also an official Emir that's in charge, but that person just does whatever the general says. And the general does whatever the advisor Adavis says. And, oh, by the way, intermission.
Yeah, this game has great for that. Not just the intermission part, but even the place that you're traveling to, Razir, is an anagram for Sierra, which was obviously the company that produced this. And it's pretty much no secret what they may have been thinking what was going on at the time.
So, this here was a joke based on Monty Python and the Holy Grail. While the team there is passing the Bridge of Death, they have all sorts of scary music, and then suddenly, intermission! So here's our Casablanca-themed inn, and it is time for me to drop a safety save, because you can lose a lot of time here if you make a mistake.
Yeah, as funny as that place is, as funny as that is whenever you're going across the desert, you really don't want to lose a save here, because that little cup that he has to click is one of the hardest things to do in this run whenever you're trying to go fast.
So, yeah, this is one of the few times where the point-and-click interface is really quite inconvenient. If you try to use the hand on the little cup there and wind up clicking the table instead, the game interprets that as you standing up and just rudely refusing to drink the obviously spiked drink that Signor Ferrari offers you. So if you do that, then you have to wait a really long time, because drinking that spiked drink advances a lot of time because you're in a drunken stupor for however long period of time. So here's Saisha. She wants us to give her our clothes. For better or for worse, we have a spare set, so we don't have to change into what she was wearing. There's also a item for sale in Keep On Laughin's magic shop called the X-ray glasses. I'll just mention that in passing and then leave it at that. I
won't leave it at that. Apparently you can buy them, and yes, they do work.
All right. So, yeah, this is us milling around, intentionally getting caught by a guard after we've already given away our visa to the person that wanted it so that they could impersonate us. Now we will show the sapphire pin that we got from the other katas to demonstrate that we are a friend of the kata to this kata while we are in the jail cell, and we'll get out. No, this is not Leisure Suit Larry, I assure you, even though the 5th game of the series actually does feature polygamy now.
Yeah, there's a... Yeah, it's a shame we're not going to get to that one, because that would have been a heck of a way to end this series, is to say not only
we still have the Rusalka. We can still be happy with that, I guess.
Yeah, the Rusalka that we can't save and we can only look at and give flowers to.
Mm-hmm. All right, so here we go. We're in the cave. Magic lamp, because we have one. Apparently you don't even need your lamp to be magical for it to work here. As we found out in the TAS. Anyway, I'm making another safety save because this room is stupid.
This is one of the hardest rooms in the game.
Oh,
it was hard in the EGA, and in the VGA it dials it up to about 11. Yep, there it went.
Admittedly, it's made worse by the fact that I have the game speed cranked up to 11. So... Alright, we got through. It's really picky both on where you jump from, which makes it likely that you'll just accidentally walk into the water. And it's also picky about the exact timing. You have to lead your target when you jump, basically. If I get randomly hit by any of these plumes, I have to immediately use a healing pill because my... well, I have a safety save, so it's fine. That was not where I was supposed to die. Alright, so thank you for watching Questing for Glory, the marathon of casual speedruns, where we just kind of derp around and lose all the time.
Nice.
Oh dear.
This is, no, it's funny, in the thief percent, in the any percent, you're so underpowered that you usually have to take a healing potion or healing pills in that fire room as you're going across. Incidentally, you're also supposed to be able to douse yourself with water before you go into that room, and that is supposed to prevent the fire damage.
But that's really inconvenient and awkward, and it's generally faster to just heal the damage after you've taken it. Okay, so you have to get pretty close to the ledge before it allows you to levitate down. So that's how I died there. Suleiman. For some reason, they suddenly insert a reference to actual 1001 Arabian Nights there with the Suleiman reference. Adavis does mention it, so it is... You can still get that data from the game itself. Anyway, we go find Iblis, which is very much so not a genie of the lamp, and Adavis suddenly swoops in and takes the thing, which begs the question, why did he need us to go through this cave in the first place, but whatever. I get points for asking how wishes work. I will then ask for Vitality, which will be handy for the next game, and Healing, and then teleport to Iblis. I need to get healed, or else the statue in the next room will just, in the final room of the game, will actually just one-shot me, because I wouldn't have healed since the fire room. Okay, open this door, and then get through.
And there's the last time we should see the Dazzle spell, if I remember right.
Probably, yeah. It's really useful if you actually do combat, but we don't do a lot of that in this series of runs here. Not as magic user anyway.
No, combat's really more of a fighter thing in this game, and that is, I mean, that is just true naturally, and that is true in this game. You don't fight if you're a major thief very often. Alright, this is the last room of the game. You're supposed to do all these things, or you could just kill him. I mean, that's pretty much the way that works.
Right. The intention of the game is that you're supposed to hit the candles, or else you won't be able to beat Atavis in time, and he'll finish the ritual or something. You don't actually have to do that. You can just walk to the side and hit the brazier. If you knock over a candle and you haven't, and you cast the reversal spell, that's the thing you're supposed to do in preparation for that room. And by the way, I learned reversal whenever I completed the Wizards Institute of Technocery tests. Did I mention that? I don't think I did. I don't think I'm ever actually going to cast reversal ever, right?
You should do it in Quest for Glory 4 one time to speed it up, but that is...
Oh, right. It does help in Baba Yaga's place. You told me that, even though I've never done it.
It's such a small time save, but it's the difference between 100% and any percent. I mean, every second counts. Is far more... I don't want to say worth it. They're all worth it, but I mean, it's... I fight for seconds.
Right. So I guess this is a good time, since we have everyone singing our praises, to mention that even though I'm doing 100% completion, that hardly means I'm showing you 100% of the content of the games, especially for this remake, because none of the extra content that they added to this game is worth any points. So I skip all of that whenever I'm going for 100% completion, because we only care about the point totals. So, by the way, the poet Omar was actually the Sultan this whole time. He didn't even put a disguise on, he just called himself Omar. I don't know if the populace at large knows the difference, or what the deal is, but anyway, Rakesh, the Liontar, who is a paladin, who we met very briefly. You're supposed to talk to Uhura and Rakesh a lot in a casual playthrough of the game. But anyway, he turns us into a paladin as well now, so now we're a paladin. Hooray!
With 550 points too, you get those 50 extra points for becoming, or for doing secret paladin things along the way that the game really doesn't tell you about until the end. There's absolutely no indication that you're getting those points at all. It's pretty much, it's one of the examples of a place where you need a walkthrough to find where those points are.
Or you can just be really thorough, I guess. Probably less bad in a point-and-click interface than the original. So I'm about to do a very important glitch. This is me originally having made a mistake. I accidentally one time clicked Wizard Paladin while I was importing my game file. I don't know why they even bother asking you questions twice, but they do. So, if you notice, they're at the same place, so that's why I made the mistake. But I did Wizard Paladin, cancel, and then Wizard. And this, it turns out, unlocks for me the Wizard class, and yet the Paladin skills will be available to me, because the whatever flag the game uses to indicate that you can gain so-called paladin points as you gain honor, and therefore get the ability to cause your sword, which apparently I have, to burst into flames, and other such things. All of those skills will now be earned, and earning those skills is worth 2 points each, so I will actually gain those points now, which is really nice.
Yeah, that's actually important too. There was a programming error with the points in this game. The most that you can get normally on a wizard run is 493 out of 500, and it's only programming. So him stumbling across this point glitch actually allows for a legitimate 500-point run for a wizard. So we don't actually care about any of the paladin skills per se. We just want the points associated with them.
Yeah, so incidentally, for whatever it's worth, me learning these runs in order to complete questing for glory's marathon submissions, this led us to led me to accidentally find this glitch, and so now finally we can actually have 100% wizard, where previously that literally was the thing that nobody had ever done ever. So yeah, I call this the multi-classing glitch. But anyway,
I call it the crow glitch. I think it's the crow glitch. The only way that the only legitimate way that you could get 500 points in this game before was as a fighter transitioning to a paladin, which is available in this game as well. So, I mean, the thief, you can get, I think, 497 points, and the fighter is somewhere in that range also, but none of them can actually legitimately, or a pure paladin cannot either. None of the classes can legitimately get 500 except for the fighter until you stumbled, which is the way most glitches happen.
Of course.
Stumble into them.
So I guess we should talk about what's actually happening in the game. Just throwing that out there. We just met the thief Harami. He stole something, and we were a witness, and we helped catch him by doing something. We just ran in his general direction, and then the game credited that as us helping to catch him. Anyway, he is now honorless. More on him later. We also met with King Raja, a Liontar. The Liontars are the rulers of Tarna, which was the city I was just in, and they... I'm gonna drop a safety save
They rule
here.
the city, and they are not very, they're not very pro-people, but they're also very honor-sensitive.
Right. Rakesh, who was our buddy from Shapir, he was the one who made us a paladin in the first place. He was also there talking with us. Because I suddenly care about honor, I'm now... Whoops, wrong option. There we go. This is Earth Pig. What's his name again?
Earth Pig.
Earth
I have no
Pig.
idea.
He has a name. Arnis Saknussen, that's it. Okay.
There you go.
Okay. Anyway,
I call him Time Troll. He gets in my way whenever I'm doing any percent. That's what he does.
yeah, he randomly shows up whenever you sleep in the savannah. He talks about various interesting things. There's a lot of exposition in this game. If you just talk to people, if you just explore things, there's so much dialogue and exposition to read through. There's not, however, a whole lot of things to interact with. You saw the overworld there. I was just walking about in the savannah. The only point of interest in that entire savannah was, well, aside from Tarna itself, the venomous vines that I just fetched the fruit from, and that was it. There, we're done, right? not that much interaction, game mechanics-wise.
So you say point of interest. I don't find too much point of interest on this map. This game has significantly less than... It seems to have a lot more dialogue, but there is significantly less overall content in this one compared to most of the other games.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there'll be a lot of walking around, hoping that I get the encounters I need. Unfortunately.
Yeah, this is a good time. The RNG in this game is savage. There's no other way to put that. This is just the most savage RNG of the entire series. The first game was a little rough. This game is, particularly with the wizard, you need something like, 5 different RNG encounters across the entire game?
Well, I need the honeybird, but that's not specific to the wizard. I need The Orchid, and I need 2 Johari encounters that are not guaranteed. The first encounter with the Johari is actually guaranteed. So, well, I still need an encounter to happen, and that is RNG, but the first encounter that you encounter will be Johari whenever you're hunting him down. More on that when we get there. We're jumping ahead of ourselves. First, we need to meet the Simbani people. The Simbani are about to go to war with the Leopard Men. Why are they going to war with the Leopard Men? We're about to find out. I ask about the spear, and we find out that it's because there's a spear of death that they had that was stolen. There's also a drum of magic right here that isn't theirs, that was from the Leopard Men, and they don't really know how they got that either. Meanwhile, I really want to talk about peace, so I'm just telling about peace, and every time I talk about peace here, I'm actually gaining additional honor and gaining credit towards getting those 8 extra points for gaining 4 paladin specific skills that I'm not supposed to be able to obtain.
Yeah, this is a good way for you to just make yourself sound as if you're concerned about the peace of the village and not getting through this game as fast as possible.
Quick shout out to Mark in Austin in the chat. That is actually my brother. So, and this is his favorite game of the series. So, hooray for that. So here we have Owari. On my channel, I actually made a bot where where people in chat can actually play Owari while I'm playing a Quest for Glory game. So we become BFFs with Fusu here by pretending to play Owari with him 3 times in a row, and now we will always be best friends through thick and thin.
Oh, that's how we got friends in Philadelphia whenever I was growing up also.
What was the game of choice? Was it Owari? Please tell me it was Owari.
No, that would have been nice if it was Owari. No, we tried to pick each other with racquetballs and other things too. Those were the games of choice. It was all survival on the playground.
Alright, so the one point of interest in this map is the giant tree here, which will... it is like the heart of the world or the mother of the world or something. I forget the exact name. Do you remember?
I call it giant tree. Heart of the world actually sounds
I like the technical terminology.
I mean, it makes it easier to describe on the world map whenever you're writing up explanations for like submissions to various sites if you're trying to get this approved. So I'd say the giant tree. There's a lot going on in this tree, a lot of routing that goes into it too, and there's it's a little deceptive with how much it seems to load into memory because there's a lot of slowdown in this area, I've noticed.
Yeah, I think the pathing is just weirdly difficult on the pathing system here. I think all of the Sierra games use the same pathing algorithm. I notice a lot of the same sort of backtracking happening in these games as happens in the game Battle Bugs, which I also enjoyed from Sierra. Which is it was a real-time strategy game. And oh, by the way, here's an Orchid. World record incoming.
Oh, wow. That is amazing, because that Orchid is... you can take days looking for that thing.
Usually we're talking in-game days, but I think the latest I've had is like day 11 or so. Right now I think it's day 5. Oh. So yeah, you can just wander around for like 10 real minutes looking for that Orchid, and I just got it on the way to picking up Manu. Manu is a monkey. I just rescued him from his cage. The game assumes that you rescue Manu from his cage whether or not you actually do. So, little convenience there. So, I got the blue Orchid. I talked to the Guardian in the heart mother of the giant tree of the world, or whatever we're calling it, and it told us that we need to get a blue Orchid. Oh wait, what? I'm acting like I need to grind for it because I'm so used to grinding for it on the way back here. I probably needed to wait for about this time to make it nighttime anyway, so it's not a big deal. But I probably could have gone for a honeybird visit, because I need to wait for nighttime, because I need to dip this Orchid into the Pool of Peace right here.
Yeah, the Pool of Peace, this is one of the ongoing continuations of this series. Arana is a mage that was mentioned in the first game and kind of continues through the entire series and becomes a major player in the 4th and 5th game.
Yeah, if you were around for the first game of the series, Arana made the garden that we got a whole bunch of useful stuff from. Rest 10 minutes. And Storyteller? Storyteller, okay, good.
Nice, nice.
Getting this Storyteller to appear was a really frustrating sticking point in the game for a while for getting 100% of the points, because getting the Storyteller to tell you a story was really confusing as to what you actually had to do to make that happen. Turns out you have to go to the rightmost overworld scene, then you have to enter Symphony Village, you have to rest for an amount of time that is not all night. The rest needs to make you not go past midnight, but needs to be sometime during the night, not during the day. And then you enter the campfire room, and then that causes the Storyteller to show up. And oh, by the way, if you make the Storyteller show up from the left side of that room, the game just soft locks and makes you do the mambo insensibly. Oh, interesting. I can open the present here. Cool.
Well, I mean, why not? Here as well as anywhere. You can open it pretty much anywhere, even at the beginning of the game. But I will say that is one of the most awkward items in the game, trying to find a good spot to just open that for some reason.
Yeah, that gift was a gift from Keep On Laughin' from the previous game, and the wrapping for it is the scroll for the Jugglin' Light spell, which we will need during the duel with the Leopardman Shaman. The Leopardmen love magic, and they respect nothing but magic. The Symbani are all warriors, and they respect nothing but physical prowess, for the most part. Yes, Fusu appreciates people who are good at Owari as well. Or at least people who pretend to want to play Owari. Anyway, so the Leopard Men are the people I will be befriending, because I am a wizard, so that's just what I practically can do. I'm going to sleep here just to manipulate the in-game time. If I sleep anywhere else, then I'll have to wait a whole bunch of extra time on the Savannah, which may involve a whole bunch of extra encounters, for all we know. I need to get to Tarna a little bit before it becomes nighttime, because I need to talk to Harami, that thief from before. Okay, I just met the Honeybird, so that's great. Yeah, Honeybird is a random encounter. I'll probably get it eventually. It's good that I got it. So I'll pick that up on my way back to Symbani Village.
Seems like an interesting place for it, too. It's right smack in the middle of where you need to go.
Yeah, it's a random encounter, so it can show up potentially almost anywhere. It seems to have to be in the one of the upper quadrants of the map. Like the upper right quadrant for the first map, and then the upper left quadrant for the second one. This is a Kata, so we bring him news from Shapir, and that makes him like us, so he gives us the one of his carvings that he sells for free. So we buy a robe, so later we can buy a person to be our property, because we are a hero. And now here's Kalb. Kalb is a total pushover. If you really need lots of food, you can literally bargain with him and get actual 1 centime each price tag on your rations. So yeah, now I have all the food I could want, which is good because I want to give some food to Harami, because Harami is having a hard time because he is now honorless. And apparently in Tarna, if you are honorless, nobody will talk with you, nobody will do business with you, nobody will sell you food, which is kind of a big problem. It's as if you don't exist. So, yeah. As a paladin, Rakesh has a different sense of honor than just what the laws of the local land are. And by the way, here's Sanford and Son. They want to sell us junk. We will buy some junk.
But they always had such useful things in their own show.
What did they sell? Was it just generically junk?
Yep, it was junk.
Okay. I've actually seen quite a few of those episodes, but it was when I was much younger, so I hardly remember them.
Oh yeah, I mean this entire game is just packed full of references. Not just the Three Stooges, but Sanford and Son right there. You've got the brothers. I'm sorry, drawing a blank here. The Marx Brothers. The Marx Brothers in Game 2. There's so many homages, as they would say it. They never stole anything. Everything is an homage.
Right. So here's Salim, our hippy-dippy apothecary. We obtained magical wood from the mother tree heart of the giant tree world. So we give this to Krisha, which is Rakesh's wife, by the way. This will become more obvious a little bit later. And she helps us to create a magic staff out of that magical wood. And because it's really good wood, we will be able to win a round of a duel just based on how good the wood is. So we also got a Gem of the Guardian, which the people in this temple that we defiled earlier wanted us to get. So we brought that back, and now that we get this game's version of Prophecy. This is kind of an interesting scene, but because I can do everything instantly, you don't get to see any of the stuff that's going on. Why don't you describe what's going on?
Well, what's going on? You pretty much, it looks, I'm not sure if you actually need to click any particular options or what they do, but you kind of are asked questions of what you would do in situations or the way you feel about certain situations, and it kind of builds your own sort of storyline and tells you what you do. It almost feels like one of those little fortune tellers that you would make whenever you were a kid, except this one's a little bit more trippy.
A lot more trippy, I would say.
I must have been doing it wrong then.
I guess so. I had a mental fart there. I need to meet with Harami before I sleep. Please, Harami. Harami? Yes, good. I don't actually need to talk with him. I just need to give him lots of food. Giving Harami food, or offering him money and not actually giving it to him. Either of those things gives you honor, so I'm going to get myself a whole bunch of honor by spamming this. And then running off. So,
yeah, you don't need to grind for money at all in this game. Pretty much for anything that you need to buy, you will have more than enough to complete the game, whether that's 100% or any percent.
As long as you know what things you actually require. If you buy like 20 throwing daggers because you want to do a lot of combat, you will have to recoup that money in some way. And money is a little hard to come by in this game if you need more. So, I waited until this day to sit on the cushion here. I need to order a meal on one day, and then on some future day I need to return to the inn, rest, and then return to the outside portion of the inn. And that is the most consistent way I have found to make the survivor of the previous peace conference that's Tarna had sent trying to make peace between the Simbani people and the Leopard Men. I need to talk with him about that peace conference in order to be informed that in fact, the peace conference was ambushed by demons, not by the Leopard Men, as everyone seems to believe.
That's actually some of the hardest points in the game to find. I mean, that had to have been a heck of a grinding fest in order to find out a consistent way to get that guy to show up.
Also a heck of a grinding fest was to figure out why Harami sometimes wasn't advancing his conversation state after I talked with him. Turns out the issue is that if you talk to if you enter the bazaar during the day, then on that night, if you meet Harami, he will not make progress towards being the third meeting. The reason I need to meet with Harami 3 times is that on the third meeting, I can tell him about Rakeesh, and then he'll go to Rakeesh and then ultimately join us at the end of the game. Incidentally, he'll do this whether we do that, or he'll meet us whether we do that or not. More discussion on that later. But the point is we need to meet with him on 3 separate days in order to get all of the puzzle points of the game. Yes, we need to meet with Harami by bombarding him with meat. I appreciate the level of puns in the chat right now. Yeah, I didn't get Kaltib. I expected Kaltib there. I wonder if having obtained the Dispel Potion is a prerequisite. That would make some sense. I don't think I would ever have previously not gotten the Dispel Potion at that point. Anyway, I just delayed getting the Dispel Potion there because I knew that I had the feather available, so I wanted to turn in the Honeybird feather so he can make more healing pills. Not that I get any of those healing pills, but that is worth points for you to make him able to manufacture those again. Oh, whoops.
Yeah, you don't take damage too easily in this game from my experience, so healing pills are more of a good idea rather than a necessity.
There's not enough puzzles in the game for you to take damage in.
Yeah.
I mean, what are the odds you actually take damage from the venomous vines anyway? If you have the fetch spell, what would you do other than cast the fetch spell there?
That's another one of those broken spells that's in the game. You get that right at the beginning, and the fetch spell is used in every single game along the way.
Alright. Should be in good shape. So here's Johari. Johari is a leopardman. We don't know her name yet. In fact, the people previously did not know it was a she at all, but we use a Dispel Potion to get their leopardman prisoner to become a human again, and it turns out it's a hot girl. So the instant they see that it's a hot girl, they're like, oh no, actually we don't want to torture this person to find out information. We want to sell her as a wife. So a bride price is set, and we need to snap her up before someone else gets in on that.
Or before anybody else figures out what her name is. I mean, you know, of course, the first thing you do is decide whether or not you're going to want to marry her, and then find out more about her later.
Right. To be fair, we ask things about, like, what is your name? Where is your city? That's what the Simbani want to know, because they can't attack the Leopardmen village because they don't know where it is. So that's the main thing holding the peace right now. However, because they caught Johari, who happens to be a princess, by the way, that's about to bring the Leopardmen to their doorstep unless we release her. So one more meeting with Harami is required here. So while I'm meeting, I will also go meet with a happily married couple who are demonstrating how happily married they are, and they will suggest that I get in on that by suggesting that I marry the leopard woman myself. And being told to do that is, for whatever reason, worth points. So, ta-da, I now have points. Alright, so this should be my last meeting with Harami. Yep, if he starts his message with both G's, that tells me that I'm good to go. So I told him about Rakeesh. I need to give him some more meat. I will make sure that I have... Yeah, I've already passed the amount of honor I needed to reach. And now I just want to meet with Kaltib. So I will go into my room, I will rest for 10 minutes, I will go out, and Kaltib will be available. Why that works, I have no idea, but it does. Some shout-outs to Puri Puri, who is kind of the grandfather of Quest for Glory speedruns, who figured out that eating a meal was involved in getting Kaltib to show. I just asked about the peace mission, now I leave him, and then, oh, by the way, if I visited Tarna again, then on the next day, everyone would be talking about the fact that Kaltib just died. So that was the last... Me asking about the peace mission was the last thing Kaltib ever does.
Well, I hope you feel proud of yourself. You just killed him, Crow.
Hard to say. I mean, he's being tormented by demons constantly. It's possible that me digging up the memories made him die slightly earlier than he would have otherwise, but he was going to be killed by demons one way or the other. And allegedly, the information that I got helps me to face the demons and deal with that situation. So,
funny thing is, that's good logic for buying a bride also. I mean, somebody's going to buy her, so why not us?
Right. Although, the fact that we don't regard purchasing a human as property as an acceptable thing does actually help her in this regard. So, we ask Uhura about their traditions on befriending someone. So, they say that you give gifts of friendship, beauty, and trust. We will give beauty in the form of a leopard carving, a gift of friendship in the form of beads, and then a gift of trust in the form of a dagger, which she promptly says, I will stab you in the back one day. And then we release her out of the cage, and then rather than jumping into our arms, she just runs off.
As I've typically found, marriage tended to work in my relationships, but that's a whole different story.
Wait, relationships plural? How many marriage relationships have you been in? Are you playing Quest for Glory 5?
No. You're going to be playing Quest for Glory 5. I'm just misspeaking here. By the way, if my wife is listening, I love you dearly.
All right, so I need to meet with Johari 3 times. The other 2 classes only need to meet with her once. The fighter becomes a Simbani warrior and thereby earns the Simbani's trust and gets as a gift for becoming the Simbani warrior, you get the Drum of Magic, which it belonged to the Leopard Men all along. So by stealing it, and oh, by the way, this is a great time for me to drop a safety save. I've had some crashes here.
Yeah, this is around the time whenever the crashes start. There seems to be something linked to the Leopard Woman in particular that just seems to cause crashes.
All right, here we go. So
this is the RNG grinding also that we were talking about earlier.
Yeah, I need to get 3 meetings with Johari. Because I'm a wizard, I just need to convince her that we need to stop this war, and I can show that I'm great at magic. So bring me to your village, and I will convince them not to go to war. That's what we're doing here. If you're a fighter, then you get the Drum of Magic legitimately, and you bring it to the Leopard Men and say, hey, I've got the Drum of Magic. Do you really need that Spear of Death? And they'll say, oh, no, you can have it. If you're a thief, then you just undo all the thefts that the demons had done. You steal the Drum of Magic from Simbani. You steal the Spear of Death from the Leopard Men. You return those, and then you're good to go. Although, if you're a thief, you have an alternative that's kind of confusing, if you want to go into that, because honestly, I don't understand it super well.
Yeah, that entire skip that's available with the thief, I'm not exactly sure why a lot of the glitches in this work. This game does seem to have quite a few more beneficial glitches than the other games. We're happy about it, don't get me wrong, but if we could understand why they were working, we might be able to glitch the game better.
I think this would... I'm certain that this is the first game that in this series that was initially released in the VGA point-and-click fashion. What I'm not sure about is whether this predated the Quest for Glory 1 remake or not. But both that engine and this one seem to have been made at about the same time. They have some of the same apparent problems.
Correct. Puri, again, to mention him, if I remember right, he found out that disabling EMS in the DOSBox settings, it gets rid of a heck of a lot of the crashing glitches that can occur in this game.
All right, finally we have our final meeting with Johari. Any luck, we won't crash either. Yay, no crash. Okay. That scene kind of plays out strangely. Because our game speed is set really high. By the way, we talk about romance and then do it. But because our game speed is high, any animations whose speeds are tied to our character are really fast. This includes us walking off screen, but for some reason does not count us walking off screen alongside Johari. So we try to flee Johari, and then she gets mad, and then we regain control at a time we're not supposed to. I suspect that contributes to that scene being unstable.
That's probably a good guess. My crashes in the Thief any percent. The crashes in this game are amazingly consistent. It's right after this scene that the game actually crashes, and doing a quick save load seems to unburden the system for some reason, and you can get past it. But it is pretty much 100% guaranteed you will crash here on a Thief.
Alright, we didn't get the looping gate sound, so that's good. Sometimes the gate sound effect loops for no reason there. So we're now with the Leopard Men. We are going to do a duel, and I will ask you to provide commentary because there's a lot of inputs in a row here, so it makes sense for me to focus.
Oh, absolutely. The whole fun part about this is that you're saying that your magic is better than theirs, so you're gonna start by comparing staffs, and then it's a blow for blow as to who is actually the better spellcaster here. The idea is that you can only cast each spell one time, and there's multiple ways to solve this puzzle, or at least some of these puzzles, but you want to do it in an optimal way that allows you to get to the end, so that way you can actually overpower this other wizard. The entire thing is going to come to a head whenever he decides that he would rather dance than play, and play magic user, and then we have to douse him with the spell potion in order to get the dance fever off of him.
Specifically, he summons a demon to possess himself, and we dispel that, and then he realizes, you know what, I probably shouldn't have done that anyway. So...
yeah, that makes more sense than my commentary, but
Again, this game is very exposition heavy, so if you're playing this game, most of the time spent playing it is spent reading all the text about all the things people are saying. So you could actually find out what's going on, or you could do speedrunner stuff and just make up your own plot as you go along. That's fun to do too.
And part of the reason I do that is because I've played through these games so many times, and I've read like pretty much all the dialogue in it. I love this series. I got into speedrunning this series because I love it so much. So being able to make up your own plot is just a matter of creative license after you've spent multiple times buying this game.
So you'll have to take my word for it, because the scene you just saw on screen did not seem that way, but that was a peace conference. We just had a peace conference, which, yes, you know, involves the two leaders of the civilizations trying to make peace, killing each other. So now we're totally at war because the demons possessed the leaders and made that happen. So... now we need to meet our monkey friend to go to the monkey village, which happens whether or not we rescued the monkey before. The game just assumes that you did. We're also about to meet a scene where all of our friends that we've made over the course of the game join us, and all of them join us regardless of whether we actually made friends with them or not. Because this is 100%, we actually did, but... that wasn't guaranteed, but the game's ending still plays out the same way regardless. My theory is that this game's ending probably had a number of ways it was supposed to be able to go, depending on what sorts of things you had done, and then things would be harder if you had not befriended certain people, or if you didn't have enough communication skill to convince Manu to help you out, or what have you. But as it is, there is only one way to get to the Lost City, which is the demons' hideout, and defeat the demons. There's a very small divergence at the very last scene with the demon wizard, but aside from that, it's all pretty streamlined.
Yeah, this game seems to come to a pretty quick conclusion once you hit a certain point. Once you get past that peace conference, you just run right and the game puts you on autopilot for the rest of the game, pretty much.
Yeah, thankfully, finding Manu is guaranteed there. It's not even a random encounter. It just seems to be, as soon as you enter that screen, Manu, done, escorted to the monkey village. So we don't have to hunt for him, so that's nice at least.
Yeah, incidentally, the rest of the game is not RNG dependent, which is nice.
So
I mean, everything's pretty much scripted from here on out.
We need to ask for cooperation from Manu, otherwise he's just constantly pulling, and we're not allowed to try to cast magic because he's interfering with us. So we're going to get a demon worm fight here, which we're going to avoid. I probably could kill it, no problem, if I cared, but it takes a long time to actually show up.
Oh yeah, there's two different ways that we can seem to get away from this fight before the game actually intends you to. You can either run off the screen using the numpad, or it seems like if you're right at the edge of the transition, that it just cancels the encounter entirely right away. And both are extremely fast, but it doesn't take that long to get away from them anyway.
Yeah. So the skip he's talking about would involve the monkeys not even returning on my position, which saves a bunch of time, but isn't any different narratively. Yep, so I just ran away. Don't worry, I'll at least fight something in Quest for Glory 4. Two things, actually. So there's still some combat to be had. So now we're at the Lost City, which is overrun by ape men. I think the higher your skill meter is, the more frequently the ape men patrols move or something. I have minimum skill bar setting, so everything is nice and convenient. I'm going to fetch this fire opal from the eye of the whatever that is, and then put it in here. You could also have gotten the fire opal by helping the mirror bats back in the venomous vines room. However, if you get the fire opal there, then it's not here, and therefore you can't get the points for getting it here. So you're actually penalized for being a nice person, points-wise. These are Frick and Frack. They have some amusing, stupid dialogue. They are, in fact, dumb demons. Officially, the game calls that class of demon a dumb demon. I use a Dispel Potion on Rishaka here. She was also on that peace mission, but rather than being tormented like Altib was, she got imprisoned for whatever reason. And she also happens to be Rakish's daughter, so he shows up and he magically heals her. By the way, we can do that too, because we are paladins in addition to being wizards. You can just lay on hands and spend stamina to restore some HP. And I will still have that skill in future games, although I don't think I retain the Honor Shield and Flaming Sword stuff. Kind of strange that I have a Flaming Sword, considering I don't have a sword.
It's kind of strange that you have a danger sense, despite the fact that the game tells you that by just changing the audio anytime that there is a random encounter that could hurt you.
The sense danger skill is strictly an inconvenience in this game. It is never useful, ever. You have a strong sense of danger. Thanks, game. Alright, so all of our friends show up. Harami refuses to help. Apparently he only pretended to be our friend, or at least he's saying that, because he wanted to get out of Tarna. So he doesn't want to fight a demon. Or at least he says he doesn't. I have one thing I need to check in routing this is if it's worth it for me to grind so much honor that this demon doppelganger starts with 0 HP. It seems to be the case that the higher your honor is, the less HP this guy starts with, such that it's actually possible sometimes to have him start with 0 HP. And come on, I accidentally cast Dazzle, and apparently I'm really good at it because he's still not doing anything. So I need him to take an action after my HP is low. I caused my HP to be low by spamming the stab button, and spamming stab causes me to just repetitively start stabs but never actually attempt them properly, and that drains my stamina and then eventually my HP as well until I'm almost dead, and then Harami shows up and saves the day because he actually is our friend all along. So we taunt the demon wizard effectively here in order to get him to snatch our staff. We then cast the trigger spell in order to detonate all the magic in it all at once, which makes him explode, which makes us kick his head into the abyss. I really don't know why that animation was required, but it's there. And then we do something that the game explicitly tells us we cannot do. We cast magic directly at the gate orb, and it works just fine.
Dance fever is all over this game also, as you're about to see.
Yep. This is dark magic. Only dark magic could possibly make us dance like this.
And that sounds like that would have been a great song back in the early 90s when this game came out. You know, I have a theory that Harami actually thinks he's stabbing you for throwing as much meat at him as you did.
Oh, come on. It's high-quality meat.
That you can buy at discounted rates.
It's worth 1 centime each. What more do you expect?
3 games down, 1 to go.
All right, here we go. CD, QG for CD, and Sierra, and here we go. So, brief history on the series. Originally, you were supposed to go to Mordavia, which is the location for Shadows of Darkness, as the 3rd game. That was the original slated progression. But I guess there was a long delay or something like that between whenever the 3rd and the 4th games of the series came out, and they didn't want people to immediately go to
I think it was dual. I think there were 2 main reasons. The first one that you'd hear is that thematically it just didn't seem to fit that the hero would suddenly go off to go save the world from the Dark One. It seemed like this was too much. The other thing was I believe that they really wanted to get used to the new Sierra VGA engine that they were beginning to use. That having a 3rd game in there allowed them to get used to it and build the story a little more.
Something like that, yeah. Probably need to turn down volume a little bit and detail down. Okay.
This is my favorite of the series. I make no, I have no apologies about that. I love this game. This is the first game I started speedrunning.
This game has voice acting, by the way. If you're familiar with Sierra games, that probably is making you cower in fear, but actually they have some very good voice actors here. The voice acting across the board is spectacular, except for a couple very specific scenes where they apparently just didn't have the original voice actor do the line, and they had to have some random person fix the situation. But for the most part, it's absolutely great. Just let them do their thing, and it'll be great if you're playing this game casually.
Yeah, this game's great because they actually put quite a bit of money into the voice acting. John Rhys Davies from The Lord of the Rings is the narrator in this game, and Katrina, who you're about to meet here, is voiced by Jennifer Hale from Mass Effect 2. She also is Winry in Full Metal Alchemist. She does quite a bit. Pretty well-known voice actors in this series.
So, we just met Katrina. she tells us as we exit the cave that nobody has ever exited that cave. Oh, by the way, I'm just an innocent little peasant girl who happened to be watching this cave entrance where nobody ever comes out. Hashtag suspicious.
Yeah, I'm just hanging out at this cave where nobody should ever actually be.
So, yeah, this is our Transylvania / Call of Cthulhu / Frankenstein themed game. So expect all sorts of vampires and
this game was also about as much like the first game as any of them were. You have one town, you are dropped off in the middle of nowhere, not knowing anyone.
Also, unlike a lot of the other games in the series, nobody at first believes that you can actually do anything. They hate you because you're a stranger, and they're terrified of everything that seems vaguely suspicious. Admittedly, partially justified in being so scared, because they live in a land where everything is trying to kill them. So in comes a random stranger, and they're like, what? So if you talk to the townspeople, they all are quite clear that they don't like you. You have to prove your worth as you go through. Even in Spielberg, everyone was cautiously optimistic about you. I asked about the Adventurers Guild. I loaded up on rations, which come in the form of avocado and garlic sandwiches. Yes, you heard me right. So now I'm going to the Adventurers Guild, which I got the key from the Burgelmeister, which is an awesome name for a mayor, by the way. Read Hero Magazine, because otherwise my character doesn't know the solution to a thing. I also read Creative Casting. Do I actually need to do that?
I don't believe you need to do it for points. The benefit, obviously, is that I believe you get an extra 25 points into your magic skill for doing it, which is a healthy boost. This game's stats, compared to any of the other games, they give you a boost automatically going from 3 to 4. So you already have more than you actually ended with, but I don't believe for points reading that book is necessary.
So I just got Antwerped. If you remember, the Antwerp was the bouncing thing from the first game just outside the back entrance to the Brigand's Lair. And these are baby Antwerps, which you can actually create in the first game by making the Antwerp fall on you, which is its attack if you anger it. And then you stick your sword up in the air, or dagger if that's what you have. And then as it falls on you, it splits into a bunch of pieces, and then that's how the Antwerps reproduce, apparently.
You know, that'd be an interesting idea, us doing a continuity percent, because the game pretty much assumes that you do everything. And we don't do a fraction of what it actually says that we do. So forcing you to actually kill the Antwerp, that would be a nice touch.
Actually, I think that Dr. Cranium says that these particular specimens were produced by someone else. He mentions it. Great. I forget who it was, but it was not you specifically. He does remember tales of your visit to the region. But here we are talking about lore stuff when we have a guy with hair like this on screen. This is Dr. Cranium. He is a mad scientist. He is trying to reanimate the dead for whatever nefarious purposes. We need to get him to advance his little skits on 3 separate days so that we eventually can get the rehydration solution from him. That'll happen on day 3, obviously. This is the Lishi. I know because I read Hero Magazine. Hero Magazine, whenever you read it, actually breaks the 4th wall. It is a manual that you get in the game box, and they explicitly tell you that in the game.
And it's a neat little book. Also, it has all sorts of lore, and it was pretty much the lore guide for the game before lore guides for games were actually a thing. They gave you a lot in that. You learned a lot about also what the hero had gone through beforehand. This was the first game in the series that I had played, so I had no idea there were actually 3 games before this, because the game is technically called Quest for Glory: Shadows of Darkness. They don't actually mention the 4 anywhere in there.
I had to cast Calm there to pacify the Vorpal Bunny. Thankfully, this game gives you pretty good expertise on all of your skills. And yes, this is a Vorpal Bunny. Killing it is actually kind of difficult for a wizard because it is so short that all of your spells go over its head in the combat screen. So now we are going to demonstrate the rating for this game, which is, I believe, what was it, kids to adults, or was it E for everyone? I forget.
I believe it's probably kids to adults. To be fair, and I mean this to be fair, because I mean this was perfectly safe for kids, obviously. The game came out the year before the ESRB was a thing, so apparently kids were much more mature before ESRB took over.
Right. So yeah, that was the Rusalka. You befriend her by giving her flowers. I made a mistake. I'm supposed to rest before I enter that swamp room. You befriend her by giving her flowers, and she's baffled. She's like, wait, there's a man here, and he didn't just immediately jump into my arms so I could drown him? This is the first time I can remember that this has ever happened. And then you talk about stuff, including various useful things about the swamp, which is where I'm about to go. So if you need information about that, you can do that.
Looking at Twitch chat, it looks like they might get us banned before anything else does, looking at that lake. Don't worry, we're not going back. The only time you go back there is if you are a paladin, and then you can save her and you actually get your kiss at the end.
Although she looks a little different whenever you kiss her. So
shh, don't tell them that. Don't tell them.
She looks even better. How about that? Will that string them along? Alright, so here's the first of 2 combination lock puzzles for using the Dark One sign. This is kind of strange. The interface is a little glitchy. Frankly, a lot of things about this game are a little glitchy. The original release of this game was utterly unplayable, and as a result, this game, despite being really good, was a financial disaster. Because... Wait, I should have gone up one more.
This game was known, and it's funny because it's actually one of the most stable of the games now, but on its release, it was easily the least stable of the games.
Like, when we first got it, and we were excited about it because we joined in with the series with Quest for Glory 3 / Quest for Glory 1 Remake. Frankly, my brother probably remembers the chronology better than I do because I was really young at the time. Yeah, it was... we were really looking forward to it, and then we got the game, and then we tried to go down the slippery slope just outside the first cave, and then the game crashed. And then we tried to do it again, and the game crashed. And we could not get down that slope without the game crashing. So... eventually, we did get I think we got the actual patch discs back when companies had to actually mail physical things to people to provide customer support.
In fact, this game was so loved that there was New Rising Sun was, I don't know entirely the story behind it, but they ended up releasing their own fan patches that pretty much got incorporated into the good old games and Steam releases, because they were that consistent in the way that it fixed most of the problems. But right now, what he's doing is he's going around, generally trying to apparently survive encounters with monsters, but there's a number of things that you need to do at night, and there's a number of things that you need to do at the day. The first thing that you really need to worry about is this ghost of a woman, and but also to get a couple other spells along the way.
Right. So I visited Arana's garden. Oops, I didn't need to pick flowers. Whatever. I have flowers now. Anyone need flowers? So Anna is the wife of Nikolai, who's the old man who's looking around outside of Dr. Cranium's lab. We will inform Nikolai of where she is, and he will go to her. And like many of the other aspects of this game, the various major plot points, they're all bittersweet things. So we'll see that in a bit. First, we need to meet with Dr. Cranium again. I visited the Burgomeister again because you need to make sure that his game state progresses correctly, or else sometimes Igor's event doesn't occur or something like that. That's what I remember reading from your notes, and basically everything I'm doing in this run here is me just carbon copying what Mr. P.R. Miller did in his runs, because this was his favorite game. This is the game that he's put the most effort into, so I'm just trusting him that everything's reasonably well optimized.
This is the wizard run was actually the easiest to figure out for the 100%, because you pretty much do everything in the game that for the any percent. The triggers for the end of the game are the same. You need to handle it. It's just a matter of fitting in where the little extra points are here and there. But yeah, this is this and Quest for Glory 2 are the only two that I've actually done 100% runs on everything for. You guys have Quest for Glory 1 and 3 pretty much down, and I'm happy to leave those two alone, because there's a lot that goes on in them.
Quest for Glory 1 was basically what I practiced in the last couple days in order to feel ready to do this the marathon. The Quest for Glory 1 was the hard game to get consistent. Alright, so I deal with the Leshy one more time. He tells me the magic phrase, which will... it will get me into Baba Yaga's thing a little bit faster, and I need to go through all of the Lishy's riddles eventually anyway, so let's just do that.
Yeah, there's a lot of little things that make this game go faster than the other games. I mean, the insert key comes back and you can move around that way, but it's not as quick as it was in Quest for Glory 1. But also, castings, there's multiple solutions like there are in any Quest for Glory. But casting Trigger in some places is faster than casting Open, and casting Open is sometimes faster than casting Trigger. It really seems to be situational as to what makes things faster in this, and I think that's part of the reason I like this one so much, is that it's just a lot of nickel and dime details that you need to remember. Of course, that's Sierra games in general, so...
Right. So, we just met Nikolai, who has met with Anna. They are now both ghosts, so they can be together forever. Yay? Question mark? The important thing to us is that even though they are intangible, their hat is very much tangible. And it turns out that Bonehead here, who is still guarding Baba Yaga's hut, wants a hat. So we give him a hat, and now that he has a hat, he will let us through. We're only supposed to know that a hat is his condition for letting us in after we've met the gnome and found out that the gnome lost his sense of humor to Baba Yaga. We're just going to do a massive amount of sequence breaking here. I just gave the corn to the hut, and now I'm going to bake the elderberry pie. When you... Oh crap, I forgot to cast reversal. Oh well, whatever.
Nah, it's not that big of a deal.
Okay, so, whenever you bake the elderberry pie, the game assumes that you have already met with Baba Yaga the first time, where she asks you to make the elderberry pie, and then Bonehead starts telling you how to make it. So, now that I've delivered the elderberry pie, or at least Now that I've delivered the elderberry pie, she will allow me to get something in return. We will ask for the sense of humor back from the gnome. We will get it in the form of a ice cream bar. Get it? It's a good humor bar. And
yeah, the gnome that we haven't actually met yet.
yes, we haven't met him. We don't know that the good humor bar would be a thing, and yet we just get it, and it's fine.
Yeah, the amount of programming that would have been necessary for them to account for every possibility in what pretty much amounts to an open sandbox world for the early 90s, it would have been just astronomical, and they were working with limited memory and space, unlike today.
So, I continue to give Baba Yaga food. She also accepts Gru Goo, I think, as a thing that
Correct.
she will accept for trade. But I just give her a bunch of garlic because that's really quick to get. Gru Goo wouldn't take too much time either. But apparently, a clove of garlic is about the same value as the hide spell. I'll believe it. I never cast it. And it's also the same value as a ritual to summon forth the Dark One, the Vuzel, to destroy the world. I feel like one of these things is not the same value as the other, but whatever. Who am I to question?
Yeah, I mean, they give you enough money to buy whatever you want in all the rest of the games. Why wouldn't garlic work?
Got caught in the wraith. I got caught in the wraith again.
Yeah, getting back to town is one of the harder things to do, just because the hitbox surrounding these wraiths are actually quite large. They're a little deceptive in how they actually hit you.
The wraiths, to be fair, are completely consistent because they just chill on their wraith mounds, which are in specific squares of the map. So, frankly, this game is the game whose map I know the least well of any of them. So, me blundering into squares that even have wraith mounds is generally me making minor mistakes. So this should be the last time I need to do this Simon Says business here. And I need to pull out my copyright protection. Can you explain the copyright protection while I go through this?
Absolutely. Because this was, again, the early 90s, and DRM was not exactly a thing yet, they did want to make sure that nobody was actually copying these games and just handing them out, because you could copy discs like crazy. So what they did was they added into the actual game manual 26, based on the letters, 26 different codes that allowed you to actually progress. Most of them were used for the healing spells and the poison cure spells. The only one that is strictly necessary to complete the game is the hydration solution, and you have to get that. So you had to have the manual or blindly guess through something like 525 different possible combinations at least of what the codes would have been. Of course, luckily now that in the age of the internet, all 26 codes are readily available just typing in Dr. Cranium on Google.
Did you just cut out? Earth 2, Mr. P.R. Miller. Earth Mr. P.R. Miller, are you there?
Am I there?
You are there. Okay, there we go.
Oh, thank God, I got scared.
Suddenly you just stopped talking. Maybe you actually stopped talking, or maybe there was a cutout for a moment, but we seem to be good now. Good. So anyway, yeah, the 5 basic elements of the world, according to Gloriana's universe's science, are there. And it is, in fact, 5. The scientists determined that there clearly was 5. There was some debate among the scientific community that maybe fire wasn't an element, but they determined that yes, it was. So yes, we have fire, earth, air, water, and pizza as the elements. And that becomes important in Quest for Glory 5, which we will unfortunately not have the time for tonight.
Yeah, and then in the remake, because pizza wasn't officially an element by the time of Shapir in Quest for Glory 2, but in the remake there is a extra bonus elemental that is a super boss in that game, the pizza elemental. And when you capture him, you put him in a pizza box and he restores you.
Right. As David explained in chat, I rested until night before entering the monastery here because I eventually need to advance the day anyway, and if I enter here at night, all I have to deal with is a single text box as I enter the room saying that the monastery is spooky, whereas otherwise Igor would flail his arms and say, no, 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 don't go in there. Because indeed, this place is dangerous. There's several ways to die in this region. Even more if you are a thief, because there's an extra thing that turns people into slugs and stuff.
Yeah, but you don't do too much in this actual monastery, although there is a way to actually get caught in the monastery and not be able to get out if you are a wizard, which is, luckily, we don't take that route.
I actually am not familiar with that.
Yeah, if you levitate into the window of the monastery, you get down, but you can't cast spells whenever you're on the inside of it, so you can't levitate out. And if you don't have the climbing skill, you are stuck.
Not the first time the game allows you to crash if you don't have the climbing skill.
Yeah, only this time I don't think Sierra intended that.
Alright, so I need to do a lot of stuff in the inn. First time I entered this place was the first time I ever entered the inn, so they made me pay room and board. While that event is going on, it does not allow you to meet with the jester, so I have to enter my room and exit in order to meet with the jester. I then enter my room and exit again, so the jester goes into his room so I can meet him in his room. Then I enter his room and exit again, because on the first meeting, that's when they expect you to find out that the gnome's humor is a thing you need to obtain. You actually cannot give him the humor. You give it to him automatically whenever you enter the second time. So that's what I did there. Then I rested to midnight so that this Domovoi, he's basically like Dobby, the house elf from the Harry Potter series. Same general mythology they're both being pulled from.
Hey Crow, guess what you forgot?
What did I forget?
You unlock the door.
The only thing I would ever forget, wouldn't it be? Alright, let's see when my last automatic save was. This game actually uses automatic saves and is nice about automatic saves.
Oh, that's quick. That's not bad.
Yeah, so in the gnome's room, there's a rubber chicken. While I was just talking about some other stuff, I incidentally got some elderberry bush berries. The game seems to think that the elderberry bush is like the hardest puzzle in the game, and it drops you like several dozen hints throughout it as to how to deal with the elderberry bush. And one of the various solutions is to throw out the rubber chicken that the gnome has.
And the bush crawls over to the chicken and then decides that it's hungry. It tries to eat the chicken, and you can grab the berries subsequently.
Right. So
what a strange solution to a puzzle.
Yeah, that's the kind of stuff you expect in an adventure game. Usually Quest for Glory makes more sense. And indeed, my solution does make more sense. I used Force Bolt to knock off some berries and then fetch to get them. What would make more sense? So anyway...
what I usually do, I throw rocks at it, like I do with most solutions. You throw rocks at it until it gives you what you want.
Alright. So, once more with the Domovoi, and then it's on with the rest of the night. But yeah, acquiring the chicken is worth points, even though I have no need of using it. This Domovoi eventually asks you to rescue the other one. Apparently, there's some glitch pertaining to the fact that I have rescued the Domovoi before this Domovoi actually asked me to do so. So, in order to repair that, I talked to the Domovoi twice without asking anything. Then I just open the cupboard and I get the doll that he was guarding. More on that doll later. First, we need to meet with Katrina. And Katrina gives me the Frostbite spell, which I need to complete the game, because otherwise I cannot fight the fairies. Not only because I would not be able to defeat them, but also because the fairies would refuse to fight me. Yeah, Levitate is amazing in this game. It just does everything. There are a bunch of dream sequences every time I sleep near anything associated with Iran. This is unfortunate that I have to sit through that animation, but I could not get back into the inn that night. That was just not a possibility. If I had tried to go back into the inn then... Oh crap, I forgot. I need to rest out here.
Correct. I mean, you could rest in there. It would just take a little longer.
Yeah, if you rest in your room, the game has you do this animation where you... get onto the bed and then get back off of it, so... I think that was enough? I could be wrong. Alright, so I'm just skipping this day altogether. Looks like I needed one more rest than I did. Resting in this game is weirdly technical. Getting the cursor to all the spots you need is actually much harder than you would think it would be.
At least it's nice in this game and you're not managing the day-night cycle like you are in pretty much every other one, though.
Yeah. This game lets you chain rest if you want to. All the townspeople are in a tizzy on day 5 because Igor is missing. They assume that Igor is missing must mean that this random gypsy they found outside must be a werewolf that must have just eaten Igor. No other possibility is possible. So we prove them wrong by casting the open spell, as we always do. And ta-da! We open the grave, because apparently that's a thing. And now Igor gets to go back to town. We will also use the open spell to get into the crypt now. I need to get some puzzle points for exiting the crypt. So I'll just grab those now. And just for convenience, I'll also solve this puzzle at this time as well. B-O-R-G-O-V. Borgov is the name of the family that this crypt is of. So I spell the name in the colors. And there we go. Shake the hand of the Reaper and walk out.
You know, the nice thing, yeah, I say the nice thing, any percent runs a little bit different here, and the reason is that we don't save Igor. It's just faster to leave him in the grave.
So the gypsies are, in fact, not werewolves. They can, however, become wolves whenever they feel like it. It's just not randomly due to the moon, and they are also not cannibals, so... They were partially right with their prejudice, just not in terms of whether Davy, who they captured, was responsible for specifically the problem with Igor. Yeah, any percent manages to avoid saving Igor at all. The game allegedly kills you eventually if that happens, but you can dodge the triggers to make that occur. And then I think Igor still shows up in the... Oh, crap. I guess like we're seeing combat. Which button? There we go. X.
Yeah, you can... The win button.
There. There, you saw combat. You hold the X button, and then you win. If you're a magic user, anyway. There's a charged up magic thing that they added to this game as part of their making the combat more complicated and arcade-like. I think they were specific... What fighting game was it that they mentioned specifically? Was it Street Fighter?
Somebody picked up a copy of Street Fighter 2 Champion Edition on the Genesis because it was coming out around the same time. So they were playing that game like crazy, and one of the programmers, they asked, can you implement fuzzy logic? And he said, sure, I could do fuzzy logic. And you ended up with this combat system.
Right. But unfortunately, if you're a wizard, the strong versions of your spells that you get by just holding down the button and charging it up, that's just ludicrously overpowered, so it just automatically wins everything. It takes like a quarter of your MP bar, maybe. And that was a Necrotar. The game's manual and lore book and all that stuff describe the Necrotar as being a particularly ferocious beast. And indeed, if you don't know what you're doing, that fight generally ends with either the Necrotar or yourself dying pretty quick. It does not defend much, and it attacks quite a bit. But it turns out just holding magic kills it.
Yeah, funny enough, the only thing that it doesn't kill holding the X is the easiest, technically easiest enemy in the game, the bunny.
Right. So, now that we're friends with the gypsies, we get a tarot reading that we just went through. They do their own tarot thing. Some people know better than I the relation between what we just saw and actual tarot readings. I think there's some similarities, but also it's not quite authentic or something.
That's what I understand also. I mean, I don't spend too much time practicing tarot myself, obviously, in my line of work.
I feel like in your line of work, that would not go over very well.
But that being said, apparently the cards were from a Russian tarot card deck, so the images themselves were from an official tarot card, well, official with air quotes, tarot card deck.
Okay, so I need to hear about how to do the Destiny spell using Arana's staff. Arana's staff is in town. It's what makes the ring of safety that we've been sleeping under whenever we've been locked out of the inn. And we will use that staff to deal with Tanya. Tanya is the innkeeper's daughter. And she befriended a monster named Toby, who we'll be meeting shortly. And whenever you reach her, you find out, oh, she's now a vampire. She has been captured effectively by, she calls her Aunt Trina, but it's Katrina, the allegedly peasant girl and definitely vampire that we've been talking with periodically. And she had befriended the monster a while before that, and Katrina delivered to her via Toby a doll, which is the doll that we now have in our possession. And they freaked out and put her into a quarantine because they had no idea where that doll came from. Meanwhile, we're not the only people who want the staff. The fairies here ask us to get it and gives us a spell to turn the staff not just into a magical piece of wood, but into an actual usable staff that we can use after its Rite of Destiny has already been expended. Alright, time for Castle Borkov. Go ahead and start talking because my voice needs a rest after that.
Go for it. This castle is huge. It's actually quite large compared to the rest of the outside game also. It's not quite as big as the forest, but it's not far off. What he's going to do is take the shortest route through because he's trying to get to the little girl. There's a number of cutscenes that are in here that are kind of neat. The cutscenes involve just meeting various goons that are in the castle. You can see Katrina in all of her vampirous glory. You can encounter Atavis in that same thing as you're overhearing them. All of those things take time, so we won't actually be seeing any of those.
I'm actually shocked that spying on Atavis and Katrina is not worth points. Because that is... It feels like a major plot point for you to discover explicitly that A, she is a vampire, and B, Atavis is her thrall.
Yeah, you know, now that you mention that, that does seem like maybe not an oversight, but it does seem like something thematically that would make sense, that you need to see that, you know, Atavis is actually not so dead as somebody in chat, as David.
One way to put it, I guess.
Yeah, he's not quite as dead. I mean, they mentioned that in the intro of Quest for Glory 3, that Atavis, the guy that you pushed off of a tower, was not, his body definitely exploded, and they felt his magic release all over the world, but that his body was never found. And that is, that's a little eerie, and obviously a plot point for anybody paying attention. So here's the creepy part.
So here's our creepy girl. She doesn't want to be a creepy girl anymore necessarily. She would like to go back to mommy and daddy, but she understands that because she's a bad thing now, as she says, that she would no longer be welcome in town. You explain that there is a way to remedy that. It involves a sacrifice of life from one to another. She doesn't understand what that means until moments before it happens, and then she panics. Bittersweet scene number 2.
Yep. The noble monster sacrifices himself against all the expectations of the townspeople to save the little girl. All Trina wanted her to do was live forever. He just wanted her to just live forever and never die, and now she will because she's human again.
Katrina, to put some more perspective on this, does not think of herself as being evil. Katrina is selfish, but she reasons her way into believing that the things that are good for her are also good for people around her. She is a vampire, which is immortal, and that is kind of convenient after all. She does grant immortality to Tanya, and she does grant love to Tanya. It's just that she's not her real mommy.
Yeah, apparently the way the story goes with her is that she was expelled from Wit at some point for practicing unspeakable magic or something along those lines, and it doesn't necessarily mean that she became a vampire then. We're not exactly sure what happened, but she ends up as one. I mean, wizards have unusually long lifespans in this series anyway, so I'm not sure how much more time she needed, but apparently it was a little bit more.
Right. So we skipped a day there, not because we need to advance the calendar, but because sleeping in the inn is required in order to make Otavis claim to be Katrina and deliver a note to us, allegedly from Katrina, asking us to meet him. And this will advance the plot to the phase where eventually we need to hunt down all the rituals to summon the Dark One. Conveniently, we've already been doing that. And now I can finish up the Lishi, by the way, now that I know for sure that the fairies are after the Staff of the Irana. And now I need to meet with the fairies, who apparently are nocturnal. So this...
Yeah,
Yeah, go ahead.
The fairies are the guardians of this series, or of this particular class. You only meet them in the Wizard's Run, and you have to meet them 3 different times. The first time, it's automatic. The second time, you meet them after learning all of the individual spells in the game. And the third time is after you get the Staff of Irana, which is really what they wanted from you in the first place.
Right. And this scene also contains the one bit of, well, one of very few bits of total BS in this particular game, in my opinion. Because with no explanation at all, and no narrative at all, you just inexplicably acquire the resistance to elemental forces spell whenever you whenever you summon the staff. If you don't cast that, you see the bar in the upper left? That is my HP meter. I lost more than 50% of my HP after a single volley of their spells. Winning this fight without dealing with that is essentially impossible. Also, hello, Thunder.
I was wondering what that was.
Alright, I need to turn the speed back up. The game reduces the speed during that scene, and if you increase it during the fight, you get a whole bunch of extra, you can't do that messages. I'm guessing the reason they reduced the speed was to avoid some glitches that would otherwise happen. Anyway,
yeah, there's a couple of places where the speed reduces automatically in the game. That one makes sense. Some of the others don't make any sense at all.
But here's our buddy Otavis. Tells us to take a nap, so we do. He then sets a excessively obvious trap. He locks us up with chains that I think are so weak that a wizard is likely to be able to break them just by trying. But we have the open spell, so we do that instead. There's also a sickle and stake that I accidentally picked up there. And then they just deliver... Sorry, not a sickle and stake, hammer and stake. And they put you right next to Helpless Katrina. And I'll do something much more important than killing her. And obviously, Adavis is trying to get you to kill Katrina in order to free him.
In a not so clever way, also. I mean, it's just, oh, here, you have these, you actually, as a fighter, rip the bars and chains because they're so brittle, and he just leaves you there with the equipment. I mean, it's obviously an attempt to and not nearly as clever as he was in Quest for Glory 2.
Right. Or at least not as powerful or something. He's partially being barred because... Wait, did I fail to get a... I never went into the swamp, did I?
We both missed that, yeah.
Well, whatever. I can do that whenever. There's no real particular problem.
Luckily, that's a quick one.
Yeah. Alright, so... Dr. Cranium gave us a magic scroll trying to prove to us the magic doesn't exist, and we learned the glide spell off of it, so here we go. Let's glide into the swamp. So this is supposed to be the only time we do combat. What's supposed to happen whenever you try to fight these Chernobys from range is that they swarm you, and then you have to cast Juggling Lights to prevent them from killing you in darkness. And then you have to fight them both in close range. My HP is actually kind of dangerously low here.
Yeah, you're getting pretty low there.
It's fine. Hashtag calculated.
Yeah, I had no idea actually about the Juggling Lights solution for this. I just apparently always killed them before that could even happen. I only found out that that was the intended solution long after. Like, within the last year, I found that out.
Mm-hmm. So here's the other thing there. Okay. Hopefully we won't get into any other encounters as I try to get back to the castle. Thankfully, the castle gates magically know whether you've collected all the rituals to summon the Dark One or not. So it did not let me try to go there without all the rituals, because that would be super lame. I actually do have a couple healing potions, come to think of it. I probably should drink. Yeah, I actually do need to drink them because I could take a small amount of damage in the breath room.
Yeah, I'm thinking if you even stub your toe at this point.
Alright, so I have drunk a healing potion, so I should be fine now. I currently have 2 healing. No, actually only 1. Normally I have 2 at this point, but I actually was at full HP whenever I talked to Katrina to get Frostbite. If you're not at full HP at that point because of the gnomes zapping, then you wind up you wind up getting an extra healing potion because she's worried about your safety. Language is hard. Alright, so that there was... Is it Gregor or something? I forget his name, but he's...
Well, apparently that's not Gregor. That was the last Boyer, the last person who actually ruled this because he got called in with the cult. Gregor was apparently the one who had the blood ritual. Which, not the blood ritual. The
one that was in the tree, right? Or the one in the swamp. Which one?
The one that's with the Master Wraith. He ends up getting. Yep. He end up getting captured by the Master Wraith. In this one, in the Wizard run particularly, he ends up getting caught by the fairies.
Okay.
Instead, so.
All right. So we're back to the beginning of the game. You may recognize this area. I've been here before, but last time I was not dealing with summoning Avuzul, the ancient Dark One, and to destroy the world and whatnot. Which is what we're doing now. Katrina is forcing us to do that, or else she'll kill us. And the reason she wants to do that is because a side effect of Avuzul destroying the world is that it'll always be night now, and that way Katrina won't have to make herself be vulnerable anymore sleeping in a coffin waiting for someone to kill her or to kiss her or to do whichever option it is that I happen to choose in this case. So yeah, that is her deal. That is why she wants to summon a Vuzel. It does not occur to her that this is going to hurt people other than herself, because as a vampire, she considers herself to be invincible, and does not occur to her that other people are not.
Yeah, it's a little strange also. I mean, it seems like that seems like a really complicated way to make sure it goes about, is just bringing about the end of the world. Yeah, I guess that would make it dark.
Well, a Vuzel is well known for bringing forth shadows of darkness, so that's a thing. So I need to blow into all these tentacles here. You have to blow in the correct order. Very annoyingly, the third tentacle you must access is blocked by your body whenever you blow in the second one. And yeah, that hit right there probably would have killed me if I didn't use the healing potion.
Yeah, this is one of the few class-specific rooms in the game, actually. I mean, yeah, the fairy solution was, but this one, if you are a wizard, it acts differently than if you are a thief or even a fighter. So that one takes a little getting used to, depending on the class.
I'm going to glitch out this room. For some reason, I can access my inventory from the top of the screen, even though I can't access it from the tab button. And then I just touch the sense ritual solution to the altar because I happen to know where it is, despite not having first restored my senses. All these rituals kind of have you first head out, do the ritual, and then something dangerous happens, you have to escape. So yeah, that's the theme, and we just skipped all of that for the sense ritual. Now we have a wizard's duel between Atavis and Katrina. Atavis attacked us. Well, me, I guess. Anyway, the main character. iICrowIi, go. So Katrina's not so happy about it, and ultimately, Atavis baits a baits a Vuzel to attack Katrina, so now she's dead. We tell Atavis the ultimate joke that we learned from the gnome whenever we rescued his sense of humor, and that made Atavis laugh uncontrollably, and thereby made him unable to block our magic staff enhanced force bolt, which basically returned the favor and made a Vuzel kill him. Time, by the way.
Time. That's
2
time.
weeks pass from the final encounter.
So even Naff?
Yeah, we'll export garlic.
That was
to
a really
all parts of
pretty
the world.
solid run going
Everybody
through there.
will be stinky.
Yep, 234.
We can even import an
234,
elephant or
pretty
two.
much even.
Just for old time's sake.
That's a good time.
So what was my time, by the way? I don't have the stream up. I think you just said it, but I didn't hear it.
234.
Yeah, that's
Everyone again.
a few minutes faster than I've done before in any of my practice runs, so yeah, that's pretty good. I just had to reload the one time whenever I missed the chicken. Oh no, I missed something! No, run invalidated!
Oh.
What did I miss?
Oh, what could you have missed? It's only 1 point. The chicken would have been the one thing that I could think it could have been, but what was it?
We deliberately went back to retrieve that, so that's not it.
Yeah, there's 1 point missing somewhere in there. I'm trying to play back the run in my head real quick, but there's not too many things that actually are only worth 1 point. That is so
well.
All right,
the wizard
you gotta do the
technically
whole
gets
thing over.
501 points, so
so there's a 2 points in
yeah,
there somewhere.
it's a 2-pointer that I missed somewhere. Well, I'm not going to delay the entire marathon by redoing the entire last game because, yeah.
Oh, that's just upsetting. Everything went so well there, and well, I mean, I guess we're not really heroes.
Yeah. Well, we got. Well, if you sum up all the games and you consider all of the points that the games actually can normally give you based on not doing glitches, we have obtained more points than that. So we're actually over 100%, so we're overachievers. I'm gonna stick with that story.
That's a great way of selling it.
If you have...
That was a... But that is the first 4 games of the Quest for Glory series, minus two random points that, for whatever reasons, we seem to have missed somewhere along the way. What happened?
The save character file is...
I believe I didn't sign the logbook, but it's possible, I guess, that I missed the spot because I didn't listen for the confirmation on it, so it's possible I accidentally read logbook instead of signing it, I guess. There's no way for me to go back because I've been relying on automatic saves throughout this run here, so there are obviously automatic saves during the final gauntlet. So, whatever. It's a little bit lame that I was 1 point short, but still got to deliver basically the entirety of all the games, and it went fairly well with apparently 2 minor hiccups. And
Could we have missed a Lishi puzzle?
I don't think so.
I don't think so either, but
I answered about Arana's staff, and I dealt with the Lishi twice before planting the bush. So that is everything, right? What if I was wrong on one of the copyright protection things for the healing potion or the poison potion? And I just didn't notice. Would that have been 2 points?
Yeah, that's 2 points. I mean, that could be it.
Yeah, so we'd be grabbing at straws to try to figure out where the last 2 points were supposed to be.
Well, actually, if you reload your game and take a look, you're either going to have no healing potion, no poison potions, if that's the case.
I drank 1 healing potion already. Let's go ahead and check. This should put me in the... Oh, I can't check here. Brilliant. Yeah, probably not the potions. I don't know. Burning the monastery is not worth points for a wizard.
Or anybody, actually. Except, no, it's not even worth points for the paladin,
really?
I believe.
Huh.
Yeah, it's just a good idea.
Right. Probably worth honor, I'm guessing. Okay, well, anyway, we're done with this VGA series of runs. I called this the Quest for Glory Anthology because at one time there was an anthology CD that had games 1 through 4 on it, and those are the games I've gone through. I've gone through all of the VGA versions of all the games. There is a 5th game of the series, however, including that in my marathon run would increase the duration of the run by more than 50%. It is that long, and unfortunately, like 30 or so minutes of the extra time is just walking around because you can't zip around like you can in the
like you can in the VGA versions.
Right. Increasing game speed to max is not so broken in that game. I have learned to run for
1,000 points as opposed to 500.
Right. There's more stuff to do, legitimately. It's just there's also lots more walking around. So we will not be doing that. I have learned to run, and I probably will do it at some point in the near future. So if you're interested in any of that, you can follow me. I also do things like Secret of Mana, speed runs, ActRaiser, Final Fantasy Adventure, Final Fantasy IV, the Lunarian Shuffle, which is a randomizer I made for it, and periodically other things. I'm probably going to do Phoenix Wright as a casual at some point in the future. So that's generally me.
Whereas I never actually stream. Okay, that's not fair. I do stream. It's about once every 6 months or so, and you can pretty much guarantee it'll be Quest for Glory.
Right. So, thanks everyone for watching. I hope you enjoyed Quest for Glory, whether you've seen the series before or not. Again, Quest for Glory 2 is available from AGD Interactive for 100% free. give that a shot if you've not played anything in the series before and this intrigued you, and go from there. That's my suggestion.
And pick up the games on GOG or Steam. They're like $10 whenever they're not expensive, and you get 5 games out of the deal. Technically, more like I guess it's actually you end up with 6 games out of it because you get the EGA version and the VGA version of Quest for Glory 1 out of it.
Right. Yes.
So I mean that's 6 games for $10.
They put in a lot of
writing into this game, and the stories that surround it. Whenever you're not trying to skip as much as possible, are really good narratives.
Okay, so anytime High Spirits wants to poke in here and start almost completed the Quest for Glory 100% runs.
Yay! Let's see here, 25. I'm looking here and I'm trying to do the quick math on it. That literally is a 99.9%, 99.902% run. Yeah. Wow. I don't round up. I'm just disappointed, Crow.
Yeah.
Yep, I'm kicking myself out.
Thanks for watching.
No, thank you, and I appreciate being a part of it too. Love this series, and thanks for